Not Quite Cool is a podcast that contains spoilers, opinions, and general nonsense. Listener discretion is advised.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
that almost sounds very. What's that politician? What's that asshole up in New York? The politician,
George Santos.
Santos, not quite Jewish. Yeah.
No, guys, I said I was Jew-ish. I like bagels. That's what it is. Well, welcome as we give you those hot topics and hitting all those important buttons. This is Not Quite Cool. My name is Keith Brooks. Here, as always, with Chad Dowdy. How you doing, Chad?
Doing okay. I'm a little congested, so usually I carry this podcast, but you might have to carry the load today. We'll see, Keith.
Yeah.
I can't expect Rob to do it.
Yeah, God no. Speaking of a load that we expect nothing from, Rob Prago's here with us, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Robert Prago from Vampire Diaries, and I'm sure a hemorrhoid commercial.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing good. I had to hang out with this pain in the ass today. This guy edits my videos. Oh fuck! I don't even get into it. Good lord! But he has a fridge stock full of food, and he's got some cool dogs. So there you go. It's all good.
I do.
Well, I was gonna say, speaking of a pain in the ass, you guys, pissed off my wife because you're talking about the little TV in the background. But Keith has pissed off my daughter Maggie. So she watched the YouTube of our podcast where we did our top 5 movies of the year, and it had like Chad's list, Keith's list, Rob's list, and then for Maggie's list it said Chad's daughter, and she was like, Chad's daughter?
Not Maggie's father.
Yeah.
Chad's daughter? Okay, thanks a lot, Keith.
Well, I didn't know if she wanted me to put her government out there like that. So for now on, when she gives us lists, I'll definitely put Maggie. Also, she followed me on Letterboxd.
Full name. Yep, that's right.
So I was happy to see that.
She's got some takes on your reviews as well. She said, "Does he only watch 5-star reviews? You have no bell curve on your Letterboxd."
That's not true. That's not true. Every now and then you'll get like a fan 4 stick, like it's there to balance it.
You need to, on the YouTube video, input what your bell curve looks like, because everyone can see what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's nothing.
It's a lot of 5 stars.
Everything is 5 stars. Everything.
To be fair, I'm reviewing all those movies at like 3 a.m. kind of high. But that's, the name of this podcast. I thought this was going to be because Chad messaged me. I've got some things to say about your Donkey Kong video.
I will talk about that real fast. Yeah, let's get to it real fast. In your YouTube video, which you got to check it out. What is it? Bean Dip Productions? Is that the channel?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Our Not Quite Cool is on that channel, but Keith is endeavoring to play every Mario Brothers game.
Yeah.
And so he's done a video of him playing Donkey Kong, the first one. And he literally just beats the first 3 levels. And then it cuts to him. He's so proud of himself. Yeah.
So proud.
I just beat it. He was like, it just took me like an hour and 30 minutes. And I just beat the whole game. It's 3 levels. You didn't beat the whole game.
That is the game. That's the whole game. It just repeats after that.
Yeah. It gets harder. You didn't beat the game.
I don't need to see the new content. I just need the base idea of what's happening.
Which I understand that you're trying to get to the base idea, but you're just so like, oh, I just beat it. No problem. It was like, I've never even played this game before, and I beat it in an hour and 26 minutes.
It still took me an hour and 26 minutes to beat those 3 levels. Coming up next is Donkey Kong Jr., and I've been editing that. And Jesus Christ. But I know that's what you guys have all come here to see, is us talk about old properties. But speaking of Rob, we're going to talk about something.
It's like, bring it, old properties. Yeah, right here, baby.
We're going to start off by talking about a property that's been old, for a while, but been revitalized with this new show. That's on its 2nd season. We're talking about finally Star Wars being good again as Disney Plus brings us Bad Batch. Now, they're on episode 8. 2 episodes dropped this past week. I know Chad and I have watched it, and Rob doesn't understand any of the words I've been saying for the past couple of minutes. But
all I know is Bad Batch describes the 3 Star Wars shows prior to Andor. That was a batch of bad. Now, I haven't seen this cartoon, and I didn't write that joke down. Thank God. I had some coffee. Yeah. It's all good here. But thank you. I'll listen I'll listen intently to the Bad Batch discussion. I hope it's great. I want it to be good. I don't root against Star Wars, even though we have a complicated relationship. I don't root against it. I like it.
I will say the thing, it's so much better than Andor, if only because the intro is short. You know what I mean? Like Andor's intro is still going from the first episode. Bad Batch over.
I remember Chad saying that. Oh my God. I didn't make the intro. For the love.
Yeah.
It was a bit slow.
So Chad, out of 8 episodes, are you caught up on all of Bad Batch?
Yes, I'm caught up. Yep.
How do you feel about it so far?
Well, it's definitely quick because a lot of them are like 23 episodes, 28 minutes. 23 episodes, 23 minutes, 28 minutes. So you can knock them right out. There's some good ones. There's some really good ones. I kind of have the problem that I had with some of last season, and the fact that I think we're just spinning our wheels sometimes. Nothing's really happening. I mean, I know it's a mission of the week kind of deal. Hey, we got to go save this person, or we got to go find this. We're on a job, so it's fine. That's the nature of it. But it's a spinoff of Clone Wars. Clone Wars, we were fighting a war.
Yeah,
and I knew, at least canon wise, that there's going to be into that war. So I know where we're going. I know how the war ends. There's going to be an end, and we're seeing various battles. So I like that. Now it's a little aimless in that regard. But what I'd said last episode, where I hope this does show how they phase out the clones. Well, that's definitely what they're doing. So it seems like we're doing a little bit more now with the clones, in the fact that we're seeing the rise of the stormtroopers, and why they stopped using clones, Rob, and they're actually using real non-clones as stormtroopers. So I like that aspect of it, and I like where they're going with that. And that was the last 2 episodes. So I really dug the last 2 episodes. And of course, anytime Crosshair's in an episode, huge fan. He's not in it enough as far as I'm concerned, but I mean, I get what they're doing with this story, but he'll be with them before it's over. There's no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like too, exactly like you're saying, it is episode of the week sort of journey, adventure of the week. But I find that these episodes have been, we had an Indiana Jones episode. We had an American Graffiti episode. There's a fucking JFK, All the President's Men episode. Some of my favorite characters in Star Wars years have been showing up. Ernie Hudson, I thought, was incredible. I loved Ben Schwartz, his little character as the droid. All of that was awesome. And this espionage sort of conspiracy vibe that these last 2 episodes brought forth, I was just all in. Even to the point that the animation is darker now, and it's at times it's more cinematic than it's ever been. I feel like if you like Andor, those last 2 episodes of Bad Batch are going to be right up your alley, because it combines all the good elements of Star Wars with the bullshit from Andor. And I don't think Emperor Palpatine has ever been as terrifying. And what happens with Rampart, I did not see that coming at all. That was crazy.
Yeah, and
I'm so old. All Rampart is to me is the hospital from the show Emergency from back in the late 70s. That's where they took everybody. That's all.
Yeah. So the Emperor was really cool in there, Keith. It was cool that the Emperor showed up. And
did they take the Emperor to Rampart? Sorry, go ahead. I'll digress. You guys.
What was cool about it is that it showed how badass the Emperor is without being, this behind the scenes machinations.
Yeah.
He's the smartest person in the room, and that's how he rose to power. It's not just because he's a Sith. It's because he's the smartest person, and he's tricked all these Jedis along with all these senators too, of course.
And it's also, you think he's not in the room, but he's secretly watching the entire time. And there's that atmosphere of it. It was great to see Organa come back. It was awesome to see his character show back up. We got to see Gunji from Clone Wars come back, our Wookiee Jedi. That was phenomenal. I'm just loving it. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next. I love the fact that we have this hint of the Emperor having his own secret troop of clones that does his dirty work executing senators and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just a super fun show, and they're toying with all of my emotions. But that brings me to the next thing I want to talk about, a horror film that came out in early January, and that's Megan, already greenlit for a sequel. I'm super excited about what that will bring, but even more excited to talk about this first one. Now, I don't think Rob saw it because he doesn't like good things, but Chad, you saw Intrigue. What did you think?
It's less about it being good. Rob doesn't watch it because he's scared. He doesn't watch horror movies.
That's true.
A killer doll. Yeah,
Oh,
he's too scared of that.
That would fuck me up.
This was fun.
I do want to watch it, but that would mess me up. That's all I'm saying.
He's dead serious too, by the way. It would mess him up.
Look, I had a tough time getting through the Evil Dead Lives. The new trailer, The Evil Dead Lives, that was before what the hell did I see the other day? I went to see a movie the other day. I can't remember what the fuck I saw.
Knock at the Cabin Door.
Knock at the Cabin. But Evil Dead Lives is what stood out from that night. And I like Knock at the Cabin. That trailer was 2.5 minutes of hell overwhelmingness. It scared the shit out of me. Well, I digress. Back to May 3 again.
Yeah, I enjoyed this movie. It was fun. I wanted it to go a little bit crazier though.
Me too.
When I went in, I was like, this movie's going to go off the rails, and I wanted the ending of Malignant off the rails, and it didn't go that far. That doesn't mean though that part 2 is not going to go that far, because I feel like they might be in on it, and they can push it a little more. So I am looking forward to part 2. Like you said, they've already greenlit it as far as that goes. But I dug like the other cast in this movie. I thought they were quirky and funny. I dug everybody in this movie, even down to like the cop that shows up, and he has that one line where he's talking about somebody being dead and he laughs or something. He goes, "Oh, I shouldn't have laughed at that," or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's the thing that makes it so great is he doesn't even pause. He's just like, "Yeah, he's dead. Ha, I should have laughed at that." Like, it's so quick of a delivery. It's so solid, and I love. I'm gonna blank on her name. Brian Williams' daughter. The lead of the film. She's absolutely incredible. I'll look up her name right now, because she's also in Get Out, and she's just fantastic in everything she does. I had heard a lot of people talk about how hilarious this movie was, and I didn't find it to be that. Allison Williams is her name. I didn't find it to be hilarious, but I did find it quirky. I think that's a good way to put it. And it really fits and fills the void of like a Child's Play. It fits into that suspension of disbelief. This is a weird world, but it feels practical, but we get that some edges aren't what you think they would be. I thought some of the kills were great. I thought the character of Megan herself was wonderful. They did some creepy, great things with it. I'm really excited to see how they elevate the bar with the second one. But I thought it was just a blast. And especially for like a January horror movie, perfect release. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was a better Child's Play remake than the Child's Play remake.
Absolutely. Absolutely agreed. But even in the Child's Play remake, I feel like this cast feels eerily similar to the way some of the quirkiness of those characters. Because you look at Aubrey Plaza from the Child's Play remake, I can feel the same sort of element of quirk in this one,
Right.
But speaking of Aubrey Plaza, let me talk about a movie that I saw. It's on Netflix now, Emily the Criminal. Now, Emily the Criminal stars Aubrey Plaza and Shades from Luke Cage, Theo Rossi, and it tells the story of a young woman who's hard on her luck and trying to find a way to make money, and she stumbles into a way that might not be quite legal. And the movie sort of goes from there. I don't think either one of you fucks have seen it. Have you? No. Okay. But it's great. Like, it's not a sprawling Scarface type movie, but it's this nice little examination of an intimate, almost downfall. And Aubrey Plaza is so like nuanced in her performance and feels so authentic and so raw. It's just, if you like watching great stories with great acting, I highly recommend it. She should be in more conversations about awards because she's just fucking great in this movie. And Theo Rossi is absolutely incredible as well. It's just a great movie to watch. 5 stars on Letterboxd. Well, hey, don't knock it
along with everything else.
Yeah. But don't knock it till you see it. But that brings us to the next film, one I didn't watch, but these two guys did, and that is Knock at the Cabin, directed by M. Night Shyamalan, starring Dave Bautista, Josh Gaff, is that his name? And Ron Weasley.
Groff? It's Groff, right? Groff?
Yeah, starring
From
Drax, King George from Hamilton, or Mindhunter guy, and Ron Weasley. This is Knock at the Cabin. I'm going to hand it over to Chad. Chad, what did you think about Knock at the Cabin?
So, this is based on a novel. So Shyamalan didn't write the novel, of course. So this was very suspenseful. And I definitely think, because he's probably taking lines directly from the novel, it does not have the dialogue issues that sometimes plague Shyamalan films, particularly old. But it was so tense and suspenseful. And again, Batista is awesome. He's doing something different this time. He's not, I feel like he's always doing something different. And so he's awesome in this. And it's not about, he's huge and that makes him intimidating, but he doesn't like play on that at all. There's nothing, the script could have been with someone else and it's fine. So it was not about how big he was, other than that they were more terrified of him because of how big he was. It has the cutest dang girl in the world. She is awesome in this, but it deviates from the novel. And Keith, I'm not going to give it away here. But my problem with the novel specifically was the ending, and they changed the ending for the movie. And I like the ending better in the movie. They changed something else in the movie that maybe I didn't like as much. So it's like a give and take that they had to do with this, but it was still good. I dug the movie. I dug Batista. I dug the entire cast. Thumbs up from me.
Awesome. Rob, what about you? What did you think about it?
Yeah, I dug it too. I found it very tense. I found it sort of, one of those quote unquote on the edge of my seat the whole time. It really starts off quick. It's shot very claustrophobic, not just the fact that it's one location for the most part, but he shoots it very tight. The angles he uses and the lenses he uses are just very claustrophobic. Everybody in it's excellent. Excellent. I'll tell you, Batista, I tell you what sets him apart right now. Again, I don't want to lump him into wrestlers who are actors, but that's obviously a category that he crosses over into. And I think Cena is leaning more towards what benefits Batista than what hurts The Rock, and that Batista and Cena as well are not afraid to fail. Yeah, character-wise, they're not afraid to be vulnerable. They're not afraid to look weak. They're not afraid to look silly. They're not afraid to lose. And I think that's what really, I didn't want to make this about Dwayne Johnson, but I think the fact that he is just way too proud. He doesn't, and I think it makes all his movies average. The fact that there's never any worry or vulnerability that something bad's going to happen to him. And I love the fact that Batista leans into that. I think he looks for the silly. He looks for the intimate. He looks for the weak, something to do something that he is not generally. And it really, boy, it's such a perfect casting and juxtaposition of choice of character to watch him, this massive, intimidating, and they make sure every tattoo that should make him a badass is visible. And then you hear him talk about what's important to him or the journey of his kids that he teaches in elementary school, and and the fear of what he's about to have to do that he doesn't want to do. Just so powerful. Again, I tell you what would help this movie too is Shyamalan had 2 co-writers on the screenplay. It wasn't all him. And whoa, boy, I'd like to think Old was an anomaly, but I also watched The Happening. So, and there was some bad fucking dialogue in The Happening. The dialogue didn't jump out to me as bad in this. Now, again, often good actors can take dialogue that's subpar, make it well, but there were good actors in Old too, and there were good actors in The Happening. I think Shyamalan should look at this as a way to go about in the future that I think people kind of checking his dialogue and working with as co-writers may benefit him in the long run. He's smart too. He made this movie for $20 million. He's got a niche right now that he knows he's got enough of an audience to turn a profit. And man, I enjoyed the shit out of it. I don't want to spoil the ending for anybody. I know we talk spoilers here anyway, but again, you're looking for something, whether or not that thing happens, go enjoy the movie. But it was cast very, very well. I've seen every one of these actors work before, except for the guy playing Jonathan Groff's husband. I can't think of his name right now. It's I'll have it. Ben Aldridge. I don't remember seeing him before. But everybody who I'd seen before, just this was right there at the top of their work, and it was done very well. Shyamalan can direct, I think it's good that he has co-writers helping him.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I think every now and then he needs somebody to help nurture his ideas. One could even argue nanny them. And that takes us into the next movie that we're going to talk about, which is an Amazon Prime original, a horror film that was released late last year, and that's entitled Nanny.
Well, okay.
Well, I don't know if you're arguing about the year part or the type of genre.
The genre, but go ahead.
Yeah. But Nanny on Amazon Prime, it tells the story of a Senegalese woman in America looking for a job, and she becomes the nanny for a little girl. The girl's mother is Rachel Moynihan, and strange, supernatural, uncomfortable things start occurring. Maybe. Chad, you watched this. What did you think about it?
I watched it exclusively because you texted me, Chad, watch The Nanny on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And
power right there. That's powerful.
Yeah. So where's the horror in this movie? I feel like this was 95% drama and 5% horror. And I might be generous with the horror. Oh my goodness. First of all, the lead's incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah, she's amazing in it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I was just like, what is going on? It wasn't like it was confusing, but there were things that just didn't make sense, like story-wise. I was just like, what are they trying to do here? What are they trying to say? Then they don't go back to, or they don't explain. And I'm like, I didn't really like this. Again, I was going in expecting horror, and it wasn't. So that's part of it.
Yeah.
But even the drama, I was not a fan.
To me, it's like, I do agree the movie is more atmospheric than it is anything, but I think the big takeaway is how incredible that main actress is. And she played Starfire on the now canceled Titans, which I've never watched, but this makes me want to go watch it because she's so fucking good in this movie. But the thing about watching the movie is it presents itself as a horror film right from the beginning. And the entire time you're thinking, where is the horror coming from? Where is it going to come from? Because you always have this tense feeling of something's about to go wrong. And every character you're introduced to, you're questioning, is it from this person? Is it from this person?
Definitely.
And then it's only in the end that you realize it's more akin to a ghost story, or it's more a stir of echoes than it is a horror film. And I liked it. I mean, granted, it's very pensive, it's very moody, it's very tone driven. But if you like that sort of playing with the way you feel about things, the emotions, you're on your edge, of your seat the entire time, I think this is a good one to check out.
Or not, but go ahead.
Yeah. Options here. We have an infinity of options, which takes me to the next film that I want to talk about, Infinity Pool, starring Alexander Skarsgård and Mia Goth. Okay, so I watched this movie, and Jesus Christ, what a weird ass fucking movie this is. The thing that surprised, I can't even start. How do I even describe what this movie's about? So this guy, Alexander Skarsgård's character, is a writer who wasn't too successful. He's living off of the wages of his rich wife. They're on vacation in some foreign country when they meet another couple. Mia Goth is the female of that other couple, and she herself lives in Los Angeles most of the time, where she's an actress in commercials, specializing as a failure actress, meaning anytime they're demonstrating something, a product, she's the person who always makes it go wrong. So have difficulty carrying a bunch of bananas, and she's the person that can't carry the bananas, so they have to invent a new device or whatever. So they start all getting together and getting drunk and high and fucking each other and all this stuff. And one day Alexander Skarsgård is driving their car drunk and sleepy and kills somebody. And they get arrested, and in this country, the punishment is death, but they figured out a way to get around that for all the rich tourists. They'll make a clone of your body, and then you have to kill that clone. So that's the basic plot of the film.
Jeez.
And it's super fucking funny. It has really light, humorous moments, great cuts. It's not as much body horror as I thought it would be, but there still is that body horror. It's more extreme in some of the things it shows, as far as Mia Goth just can't wear a shirt at all these past few years in movies, apparently. And you see Alexander Skarsgård ejaculate, like a bunch of like weird shit that I didn't think I would see in a film. And then in the end, you realize the film is more a commentary on the social classes of the elite and stuff like that. So it is very much Cronenberg's in the DNA, definitely. And it's an interesting watch. I'll say that for sure. There's some parts, if you have a weak stomach, it might make you sick, but I would still recommend it. And that takes me to the next film that we're going to talk about, which is was this on Peacock? I don't know what this was on. But it's the Kevin Williamson authored new film called Sick. That is a new horror film that takes place during the beginning of a pandemic. Chad and I both saw this one. Chad, what did you think about the film Sick?
This is enjoyable horror for me. We love Scream, me and you, Keith. And that's greatly due to Kevin Williamson, his script, and his dialogue.
And the glorious Neve Campbell. Let's not forget.
Of course, Neve Campbell. Neve Campbell's not in this movie though, unfortunately, right? Mm-hmm. So I kind of wanted more with this too, kind of like Megan, but not like off the rails. But I wanted more out of this because it's Kevin Williamson. It's set in the pandemic. I really dug the trailer. But I do think he was having fun with the pandemic.
Yeah.
The way that they were acting, the way that, they were wearing masks. When they're at the supermarket and somebody coughs and everybody looks at them and everyone's a killer because the person coughed, but what I really liked about this movie, other than, some of that funny stuff, was some of the shots in this were awesome.
Yeah.
What was going on in the background.
Yeah.
Where the killer's in the background, or you see, I love stuff like that. I'm a sucker for stuff like that when we can see something that the main character can't see. And that happened a few times in this. So I really dug that in the movie. I thought that the motivation of the killers was pretty funny. And even how when the one guy was all mad and he was in the girl's face and fussing at her, and then the wife was like, "Honey, your mask," and he's got to put the mask back on because he's afraid he's going to get COVID. So yeah, I thought it could have been better, but I still enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think some of those elements are great. I love when she's trying to get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sort of sequence where she's running on the side of the road and the woman stops and she's like, please, he's after me. And she's like, put your mask on before you get in the car.
That was great.
Like that's phenomenal. I feel the two problems I had with it were there was an element to when the killers are revealed, there's an element of their situation that almost seems like it could be mistaken as poking fun of the people that took COVID seriously. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And that's like, that hit me a little bit the wrong way, but that's fine. I can overlook that. The biggest problem I had was I felt at the end there should have been a bigger punch. There should have been something to linger with me a little bit more than there was. There is, a twist in it that is very Scream-like, and then we have another twist later on about the reveal. But yeah, overall, it's an enjoyable film. And if you already have the service that it's on, you don't really have to pay anything for it because you already got that service. But that takes me to the next film I want to talk about, which is The Price We Pay, which is a film starring Emil Hirsch and Deacon Frost from Blade. And it's about some robbers who kidnap a woman, and then with one of their own being injured, they're looking for a place to stay, and they stumble upon a farm that isn't exactly what it seems. And the movie sucks. The end. That's all I got. So Steve Dorff wanted to talk.
We reviewed the trailer on the podcast. The trailer didn't look too bad, so it wasn't good, huh?
The trailer just made you think it was going to be a lot more going on than the actual movie has going on. The movie feels like like when everybody was trying to do Resident Evil movies for cheap, like that's what this feels like. And some of the effects just look so trashy. The acting is great. The acting for the first half of the film is wonderful, but when we get into the reveal of what's actually going on, it becomes kind of cheesy. And Dorf's talking about how Mahershala Ali's movie is going to start or whatever. So there's that. But maybe, he's a little short-sighted with some of that stuff. But that takes me to the next thing that we're going to say. That was a terrible transition to talk about this next series that Chad watched, which is...
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Disney's Willow. So Chad, tell me, bring the magic back to this podcast and tell me about Willow.
So, the first season's over. I don't know if there'll be a second season, but I figured out what this show really reminded me of. It reminded me of Seth MacFarlane's The Orville, but for fantasy. So, Seth MacFarlane's The Orville, it's like it's Star Trek, obviously, but there's comedic elements, but then it can also be serious, and they're tackling real things. So, and that's what they do in this. I mean, it's funny, don't get me wrong. And there's a lot of comedic elements. There's one-liners in this, but there's real stakes, people can die and things like that. So I really liked that, because when we've been watching like Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings, all that is super serious. The fantasy that we've been watching lately, or at least it's been super serious or dark or what have you. And this was light, even though, again, like people can die. It was light and fun. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it, so I don't know if there's going to be a second season. I don't know if they've said one way or the other. They set it up for a second season. But yeah, I dug it. It was a lot of fun for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love something that can just be lighthearted with those fantastical elements, because, you want every now and then that sort of escapism. And that takes me to a film I want to review, which is Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. This movie came out last year. It is the second Puss in Boots movie. I think it's the overall 6th, maybe, in the Shrek universe. It's fucking phenomenal. Like, this movie is so good. Excuse me, with a cast of Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, Florence Pugh, Ray Winstone, John Mulaney. Like, this movie has so many sentimental, lovely moments, but is also so funny and takes great jabs at this fantasy fairy tale world that we're all familiar with. It brings in its own version of Jiminy Cricket, which has a Jimmy Stewart-esque voice, which is absolutely fantastic. And what happens when Jiminy Cricket tries to rehabilitate a serial killer? Like, it's just super entertaining. Florence Pugh plays Goldilocks, and she's just perfect for that role. And Antonio Banderas, even in cat form, is the coolest motherfucker around. And part of the whole story is he is on his last life. Cats have 9 lives. This is fact. Everybody knows it. And he's lost 8 of those lives. He's on his 9th. And he's looking for the great wishing star that has fallen to Earth years and years prior, because he is now being chased by death itself. And their version of death is haunting and terrifying. And ultimately, it's just a fun, swashbuckling movie. I loved it. It's a mystery to me why they're not going to make thousands and thousands more of these. So, but the mystery element brings me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is a Netflix.
Real fast, I did hear that they kind of backtracking. They may make more.
That's awesome.
And it's actually nominated for Best Animated Picture this year, Academy Awards. So everybody's raving about it. I haven't seen it yet, but
everyone's definitely everyone's definitely raving about it. And that takes me to the next thing I want to talk about: the Netflix movie, The Pale Blue Eye, starring Christian Bale as some sort of a detective, and then some guy is Edgar Allan Poe. So this movie is about a murder happens in the middle of West Point while Edgar Allan Poe is a student there. And Christian Bale's character is a detective that is hired to help solve these murders that seem to be related to the occult. And he takes a young Edgar Allan Poe under his wing to help him figure it all out. And it's great. It's so, classic costume drama. The man playing Edgar Allan Poe is absolutely fucking phenomenal. I think you have to be a great actor to act circles around Christian Bale, but he does it. And he goes toe-to-toe with him in the most applaudable way.
He's the one from the Queen's Gambit. He was the weird chess guy who she winds up having sex with for the first time. He's great.
Yeah. And he's a million times better in this even than I think he is in The Queen's Gambit. He was born for this role.
Wow.
And the movie has a really big twist about 2/4 of the way through that is just reshapes the entire way you understand the film. So, I don't want to say too much about it, but if you like the works of Poe, if you like a good mystery, this is a great one to go check out.
Awesome.
I would say it rules. And that brings me to the next movie I don't want to talk about. It's my last solo thing I've seen. No, it's not. God damn it, there's one more. It's a documentary on HBO Max entitled This Place Rules. So this is made by the man who does Action 5 News on YouTube. Action 5 News, if you're unfamiliar with, it's a young guy who goes off and he does interviews at strange conventions, whether they be sneaker conventions, rap concerts in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Is his name Keith Brooks?
No, should be though. Should be. But he just so happened to be following the events that led up to January 6th, 2021, and happened to be there with a camera. And so this documentary is his examination of everything that happened, and more importantly, an examination of some of the people that were involved in it. And and it's just a very well-made, insightful documentary that I think a lot of times with our political views, we can exist in an echo chamber. And this kid is of a different generation. I mean, I'm old. I'm not Rob old, but I'm older than this guy making this movie. So there's a vast difference in the way we view the world, right? And so to see his take on it, having been there, and sort of the way he can expose some of the lunacy in a way that I don't think I ever could, it's just great. It's just a wonderful watch. A24 produced, so it's good quality. On HBO Max, I highly recommend you check that out. And before we get to the stuff that we all could talk about, I'm sorry, I'm just grown so attached to talking about things only I saw. Let's talk about Attached, which is a film on Shudder. It is a Danish film about a young girl who was famous from Danish television for playing an elf on a Christmas show. One day she's in a library and runs into a girl. It's kind of love at first sight. The girl isn't from there. She's going back to England to stay with her mom. On the way to go back to stay with her mom, she has an accident, gets injured, so the Danish girl goes with her. And when they go with her, they find that the girl's mother is a very, very religious Jewish woman that may or may not be crazy and may or may not be spying on them. And it's just a really great examination of Jewish occultism, dealing a lot with Kabbalistic ritual and stuff like that. And then again, it takes a turn and you realize it's actually about something else. It's very indie, it's very intimate, it's a very small horror film. I was left wanting a little bit more, but the performance that, let's say, the antagonist gives, it's fucking great. There's some great moments of just pure comedy that come in this movie, and there's some like really uncomfortable decisions that happen in it. So if you're a fan of any of those things, Judaic horror, Judaic folklore, or just horror in general, check it out. It's a nice little movie. But speaking of biblical stories, Rob and I both watched a movie. Rob's already talked about it one time on the show, but I just saw it, and it's called Babylon, starring Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie, and the cast is Eric Roberts is in this thing. It's absolutely incredible. I'm going to tell you folks, you listeners at home, one of the reasons I fucking hate Rob Pralgo.
It's just one? Oh, it's a short show. Never mind.
Yeah.
He said one of.
Yeah. So I told Rob that I just started watching the movie, and then he just blurted out all the spoilers for the rest of the film. It would be like, hey man, I'm really thinking about checking out this new movie I haven't seen called Star Wars A New Hope. And Rob would be like, it's crazy, Darth Vader's the dad, isn't it? Like, that's the
He didn't say I just started watching it. In truth, he said about halfway through. And for some reason in my head, I thought something really important happened prior to halfway through. But it happened just after halfway through.
No, it happens at the end of the movie.
Just after halfway through.
If Rob would act the way he acts with me when I text him, it's like 5 hours before he texts me back usually. So
Exactly.
if he would act that way to you, it would have been fine.
Exactly. But
Apparently he jumps right on your text.
Yeah. And completely like just So like
That
every
wasn't
time
a text. I was standing in front of him when it happened, right? Or was this on the phone?
yo, you were standing in front of me eating my food, and so
That makes sense.
and
Chad,
so,
if you had more food, I'd be screwing up all your plans.
There you go.
so he told me about the death of a certain character in the movie. And I started back watching from where I was. The characters in the movie for another fucking hour, but every time they're on screen, I'm like, oh, is this the moment? It's not. Oh, is this the moment? Oh, it's not. Until finally it is, and whatever. But anyway,
In my defense, when I said it, I was like, oh, I'm just kidding.
but we all know how good of an actor Rob Brocco is.
That was my problem. That was the litmus test right there. He didn't buy it.
But speaking of Babylon and my thoughts on the film, this is one of my favorite movies. This now becomes my number 2 film of 2022. Like Everything Everywhere All at Once is still number 1. Babylon is number 2. It is just so bombastic. It feels like Damien Chazelle's version of Goodfellas, and the fact that I'm throwing everything in here and it's going to be high-paced, cocaine-fueled energy from beginning to end, but simultaneously being, you know, an homage and a love letter to a style and a time period of cinema, but also a comment on the parasocial relationship that happens from being a filmmaker, being a creative, being in front of the lens, how our stories cease to be our own. An examination of history. Like it's all of these things. The film primarily focuses on the time period when silent films are ending and the talkies begin, and sort of goes over that process and shows you what the change was like. And even to a person involved with film now, it feels like a completely different world. But Margot Robbie's performance in this is everything I wanted her to be in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It is the Harley Quinn solo film we've deserved forever. Brad Pitt is phenomenal. All the other actors are exceptional. Yeah, I can't recommend Babylon enough. If you got 3 hours to kill and don't have Rob Prago there to ruin the fucking movie for you.
Well, you know, if you're revisiting your top 10, I watched the movie that actually beat Top Gun. My new number 1 is RRR.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
Wow.
I just didn't talk about it on the podcast because I feel like it's been out for too long.
No, but talk about it. I've watched I've watched the first maybe 20 minutes of it, but I'm still got to go back and indulge the rest of it. But go ahead, talk about RRR.
I mean, it's awesome. The shots are incredible. The 2 leads, you would think this gets old, but every other shot they're in is a hero shot.
Yeah.
And I buy it. And it's so good. It's like you said, if you had 3 hours, you know, check out RRR. I can't praise it enough. I've talked about Top Gun forever on this, but it beat Top Gun. It was the best movie of 2022 to me.
Wow.
I loved it.
See, my thing about RRR is I am 20, maybe 30 minutes in. I still have no idea what the film is about because we've covered so much ground so far in that 20, 30 minutes, right? And it feels like they are saying, hey, Marvel, DC, give us all of your movies. We can do them better than you can.
That's what I was thinking. And what's funny is at one point, I think about an hour and a half into the movie, we're at a part where it seems like it's the climax. I was like, oh, this is the climax of the movie. But I know that we have an hour and a half left.
Yeah.
It's so well done. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's on Netflix, right? That's just for those people listening. It's Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix.
Yeah. It is every bit of it I've loved. I it seems like we're the last people to watch it, but that's fine. But that takes me to my next film or next thing I want to talk about, which is The Last of Us, a show on HBO Max based on the hit video game, starring Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey and Nick Offerman. God damn, Nick Offerman. I have not watched all of this newest episode, but that was because my house was invaded by a parasite. So it took me a lot. You, Rob.
My bad. I was like, what?
When you say the newest episode, so one came out like today.
Yeah, one came out Friday. I haven't watched the Friday.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Okay, cool. I'm about halfway through that one. So we'll get up to episode 4 then, is how far we could talk.
So I'll ruin episode 5 for everybody. Perfect.
Yeah, great. So Chad, what are you thinking about Last of Us so far?
Well, a lot of times we talk about the show as a whole, where it almost seems like every episode's a mini movie to the point to where you kind of have to talk about them separately almost. But, the first episode, I love the intro, I love that interview. with John Hannah. That was
So
awesome.
good. Yeah.
Such a great way to explain it and explain the stakes immediately. That was great. I thought that the first episode was a little slow in getting to Joel and Ellie because I didn't play the game, but I know a little bit about the game. My daughter Maggie played the game. And so I know a little bit of the story. Yeah, but not a whole lot. So I want to get to Joel and Ellie. Let's get on the road with them. So it was a little slow, but certainly after that first episode, I was like, yeah, what's next? Let's go. In the second episode, awesome beginning again. In the past, I loved it. It's on the road. We're going somewhere. It doesn't feel like a Walking Dead knockoff or ripoff or anything at all. I love that. Third episode. So this is the one where you guys might be mad at me about. So I thought that it was.
If he says one bad thing, you pull the plug on that motherfucker.
It was a beautiful episode. It'll probably win the Emmy. It was amazing television. It was amazing television. Don't get me wrong. I just felt it was a little unnecessary in the sense that we're following these two people that we're not going to see anymore, that had little interaction with our main character, like for one scene. And again, I know he's going to feel about them dying and stuff like that, but Joel's already feeling that with the death of Anna Torv. So I do think this episode was a little bit unnecessary, but again, it was incredible television. I was riveted. The Nick Offerman, the other guy, they were awesome. It was awesome, but I just think it was unnecessary. Fourth episode, I thought it was good too. We're going somewhere. I just love the interaction between Joel and Ellie. I just really do. And then, we're introduced to Melanie Linsky as the new antagonist. I'm really enjoying this show. One other thing about the third episode, my daughter told me this after Nick Offerman's character in the game is not dead. He rolls with him or something. I mean, I guess he interacts with them more after the fact. I'm not saying this wasn't more poignant or sweet the way it happened, but in the game, he does go on with them and interact with them. So it's a little different, as far as that goes.
Yeah. Rob, what did you feel about The Last of Us so far?
Well, if I may, I need to go off on a tangent just for a second. Something's been driving me crazy about Chad's voice for a while, and something has been familiar in it, possibly for years, but I never made the connection till he started doing the review for The Last of Us right now. And he went, well, and I realized Chad says, well, a lot. And I saw who it reminds me of. Now, I've been a wrestling fan for a long time, even way before I met Chad, even before Chad was born. There was a wrestling team called the Fabulous Freebirds, and they hailed from Bad Street, USA. I don't know if you know where that is, but that's where the Fabulous Freebirds were from in Atlanta.
It's under a bridge. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's where Keith fights. And and one of the Fabulous Freebirds was Terry Gordy, and he was a big sumbitch. And whenever Terry Gordy was asked a question from the great late Gordon Soley, he would start his response with, well, Gordon. And you went, well, and I went, God damn, he's channeling the late great Terry Gordy. Now I digress. Back to The Last of Us.
That's not even something you can digress from. A lot of people have inner monologues, but the key to humanity is to not let them take over that way.
Now for this Terry Gordy interlude, and then we'll be right back with our regular scheduled program.
Rob only watches like two things, so he has to bring up the past a lot.
It's the only thing he watches.
My treasure trove, baby. The only thing you guys don't have that I have is way
1970s Georgia Championship wrestling.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, guys.
It's Andor and AWA. Those are the things.
Gordon. Well, that's how Terry Gordy would start his review of The Last of Us.
Also, anybody that says bad son of a bitch with a rose made out of bronze copper behind him or whatever the fuck that flower is, I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it a lot.
You don't buy that thing?
Yeah.
That's a lamp.
It's a camera.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or Mickey Mouse's head, if you kind of do that.
I stand by my point. Go on.
Testicles. It looks like testicles. Anyway, I digress. I want to say something about, before I go back to the beginning. What have we learned in recent history for superhero movies, specifically Marvel movies, horror movies, sci-fi, that if you don't see the body, they ain't dead. Now, Joel, nor Ellie, nor we saw their bodies at the end of this. They pulled, like, they never went in the door because Ellie said, don't go in there. He said, don't go in there. They didn't go in there. And when the camera pulled back, the last shot of episode 3, we never made it back and the window was open. Now, I wonder if this episode goes over well and they want Nick Offerman to return season 2, season 3, he could have survived. That's all I'm saying. I digress.
I just feel like it makes it less sweet if he does.
Oh,
if
shut
he
up,
comes
Blake.
back.
And also, like,
It'll be years later.
he says in the letter that he left the window open, so the house wouldn't reek.
Yes, but he's a genius. He didn't want them coming in.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. He did it on purpose. He just okay. I digress. I don't play video games. The last video game I played
Was Donkey Kong with Keith on his YouTube video.
was probably in television, and the baseball players look like little square blocks. Now that this show to me it's very good, so I can't compare it. I just know as a show itself, it's very good, which really gives me hope that if they ever do like Space Invaders or Asteroids now, my shows will be good. As I pull from history, thank you very much. You put a laugh track right here, motherfucker. I'll over there and I'll give you a wedgie. What I'm going to say.
I think he's going to put crickets in, not a laugh track.
Well, they both work. It's all good either way. Something to make the audience laugh. This show is really good. It's well done. It's very methodical. The characters are drawn out well. Pedro Pascal is fucking great. He's awesome. You know, I didn't get to the part on Narcos when he was there. I don't think I don't really remember his work from that. I only watched the first season. He has played such a varied range of characters to this point and is so grounded and so real. I buy everything he does, everything he freaking does, and it's unpredictable and it's so spontaneous. I loved the first episode. I loved how methodical it was. They took the time. The sense of dread you knew was coming. That opening, the opening scenes of the first 2 episodes that took place just prior to this happening, delving it, whether the science is real or not, creating a sense of, oh shit, can this really happen? To plant that in the heads of the audience. The journey is terrifying, and that's not that it's a scary show. I mean, I think this show does very well what good sci-fi does. Is they set up something to be the enemy, but ultimately the real enemy is people. Which and that's what these shows I think do very effectively. Episode 1 I thought was a great setup. Again, episode 3 to me was so good that episode 4, it was a thankless job coming in after that, because I think episode 3 was really, how do you beat something like that? Just as storytelling. I think they did a smart job of sort of giving us something that was good, and it ended on a nice cliffhanger, but it was much shorter, and they didn't try to outdo it. What I'll say is, you know, Chad makes a good argument that obviously, not even an argument, obviously that show, episode 3, did not have a lot of Joel, any Ellie, or a little at the end. Didn't have a lot of Joel, Ellie, or Anna Torv or Tess. But ultimately, Bill and Frank become so important. They become so important to Joel, and Joel to them, just by that letter at the end. How, you know, I didn't like you, but you know, I respect you, and you know, there's very few men like us. There was they related to each other in the limited time there. That conversation at the table between Bill and Joel, that mutual respect. That's the only time you see Bill, when it's not Frank, kind of look at someone like, all right, I won't fuck with you. You know, I felt Joel's presence throughout the whole thing, and especially at the end where it was tied together, how everything was left for Joel and Ellie. I didn't necessarily feel like it was an offshoot, like it was like it detoured away from the main storyline. It gave them certain things they needed. It sort of humanized Joel and Tess. The fact that there are these people living in this fucking disaster. You know, even after the first scene, when you see Joel in episode 1 with his brother and his daughter, you know, then boom, 20 years later, and he's a different guy, and he's a much rougher, damaged guy. This again, taking place in that future, humanized them to me, where it was like, it was strangely almost too human. Now it was almost like a date, and Tess was very laissez-faire. It was, I don't know, it tied it all together very nicely for me. I did see episode 5. I will just say you have a lot of good to look forward to. That's what I will say.
Yeah.
So Nick Offerman is back in episode 5. Is that what
instantly comes back?
Him and Brad Pitt, and then they have problems. They go on.
I like the way you just ruined who the character from Babylon is. That you
I don't know what you're talking about. I know. As soon as I did, I was like, God damn it! I got to stop talking about that movie.
I will say, like, I didn't really play the video game. This makes me want to go play the video game because I'm enjoying this so much. Yeah, fucking Pedro Pascal is amazing. Anna Torv is always incredible. That Bella Ramsey girl, she's not getting enough credit for how much she's doing because she is just fucking phenomenal in this part. I think the thing that makes all of these characters sell so well for me is that complicated nuance that each one of them brings. We instantly want to think of Ellie as innocent, but there's part of her that's completely not. When they're in that gas station, she goes to kill, the Walker, but that's a different show, but you get what I'm saying. The mushroom head, whatever he's called. Clickers, yeah. So that's a super complicated scene. Them going back and forth with the joke book and all of that stuff, I could have a whole show about that. Just the way they interact with those moments, so rich. I think it's the end of episode 4 when she tells one that actually makes Joel laugh. And the pure joy of those laughs, of those two cracking each other up. God, that's a rich moment. And then there's Nick Offerman. Look, I want to say for episode 3, both of those actors did a phenomenal job. Nick Offerman, they should invent new awards because of the complexity of what he conveyed. From being this big, manly Ron Swanson type to that innocent virgin that is scared, that has never been touched before, to being so scared you're going to lose somebody, to then being scared that they're going to have to go on without you and trying to be strong in that moment, then going to being scared they're going to die, not wanting to let them go, and then making that ultimate decision. What a roller coaster of emotions. And I think part of the importance of that show, of that episode, is it shows us that, as opposed to something like The Walking Dead, where the outbreak is relatively recent, this shows us there's been an entire lifetime since the world fell apart, that this entire story takes place with just that as the backdrop. And that's humanity has moved on. And we keep getting echoes of that. The fact Ellie's never been in a car before, like how different that society is than what we're used to. It's a completely different world with completely different rules. And so I just found it completely mesmerizing. I'm liking the show a lot. I'm sure Rob's going to ruin an episode for me or something, but I like it.
It's good bet. It's good bet.
Yeah.
It's a good bet.
But those are all the films and television series that we want to discuss that we've seen. Now we're going to talk about some things that we haven't seen yet. So hit that sweet ass motherfucking trailer music made by Maggie. So let's go ahead and start with this trailer about courting a legend. It's directed by Ben Affleck, written by Alex Convery, starring Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Jason Bateman, Viola Davis, Chris Messina, Gustav Skarsgård, Barbara Sokoa, Chris Tucker, Marlon Wayans, Jessica Green, Matthew Mayer, Joel Gretsch, Julius Tinnen, Dan Bukatinsky, Christopher Williams, Tom Papa, Haley Baldwin, and Gabrielle Bourne. This is Air. following the history of the shoe salesman Sonny Vaccaro and how he led Nike in its pursuit of the greatest athlete in the history of sports, Michael Jordan. So Ben Affleck's return to directing for Amazon Prime and Skydance Entertainment. Chad, what did you think about the trailer for Air?
I'm a little bit older than you, Keith. So I was just the right age when Air Jordans first came out, like the first one.
Yeah.
My school, the rich kids all were getting Air Jordans. And I had to decide between if I wanted Air Jordans or Nintendo. So I chose a Nintendo. Now,
good choice. Good choice.
Yeah. And so I eventually got Air Jordans. Like at a yard sale, like a year later for, a couple bucks or whatever, but they were awesome. So, but I didn't really know the story behind it because I was still kind of young to a degree. I didn't realize, at least in the trailer, that Nike wasn't always the number one shoe company in the world. Like they've always been Nike to me, and I guess it started with Jordan. I never would have known that. I just thought that this is, obviously Air Jordan made them mega stars as far as that piece goes, but I just thought Nike was always the number one. So I'm very interested in watching this. And Ben Affleck as director, I've loved every one of his movies. He's a great director, so I'm looking forward to this for sure.
What about you, Rob? I know you don't like shoes that aren't slip-ons, but how do you feel about this film?
I like a nice sandal over my socks. Thank you very much. Quick, Chad, I didn't see the last movie Affleck directed, the one, the mobster one, was it something by night? Live by Night?
Live by Night. I haven't seen that one either.
I haven't seen it. Did you see that?
I haven't. No.
Okay. So I know he's 3 for 3 for the ones I've seen. That one bombed, but I haven't seen it. So I don't know if it was just a misfire of
so he's Argo the Town. What else?
Gone Baby Gone?
Gone Baby Gone.
Gone Baby Gone, yeah. 3 Dynamite movies. So yes, I look forward to this.
All 3 are awesome.
Eventually. I think again, I haven't seen Live by Night, so I don't know, but I'm excited that he's directing it. I'm older than you, Chad. I'm a little older than you, Chad. I remember when Nikes came out so long ago that it was before I even saw a Nike commercial. So me and my friends, and this is when I was living in New York, we thought they were called Nikes. So we called them Nikes. We didn't even know they were Nike. And then we thought Nike sounded ridiculous, so we thought it was a joke. We thought Nikes were cool. Nikes. I'm old. So Nikes. Terry Gordon. Well, Gordon, them Nikes are good. Anyway, I digress. I'll tell you what I didn't know for the trailer. What I didn't know, yes, I knew Air Jordans. I remember them. I remember everybody having them, blah, blah, blah. I didn't realize if this is strictly factual, that he hadn't played in the pros yet, that this guy took a risk on a guy who in college. I thought, is that true? That's a wild fact that I did not.
Yeah.
That's an interesting note. Yeah. What a cast. Are you kidding me? Shit. Come on. That'll be in theaters first. So that's Amazon's going to release in theaters first.
Yeah.
Then it'll be Amazon Prime. Okay. Yeah. That looks great. It looks like a good story.
So it'll be exclusively in theaters April 5th. I love the fact that the poster itself is just the names of all the actors, right? It's, to me, Jesus Christ. Like, it is such a powerhouse, and also what a great American story that is significant. I do think Air Jordan sort of changed the entire landscape of the sneaker industry, right? Sure. As far as endorsements and everything go. And it is, a testimony to them that they saw the potential and the talent in one kid that hadn't even gone pro yet. Can you imagine showing up to work your first time in a professional sphere, and you already have shoes named after you? Like, that's fucking incredible. Yeah, I'm here for it. It cannot get here fast enough. But that takes us to our next trailer that we're going to talk about. And this is the 10th film in the Fast saga, written by Justin Lin, who is no longer attached to the film, Dan Mazzao, Gary Scott Thompson. It stars Rita Moreno. That's the first person listed, which is
that's awesome. I love that. I love the fact that she's been working a lot more lately. She's awesome.
Yeah. Also featuring Jason Statham, Charlize Theron, Helen Mirren, Alan Richardson. That's right. Jack. What was his name? Jack Reacher. Reacher. Yeah. Jack Reacher himself, Jason Momoa, Brie Larson, Michelle Rodriguez, Vin Diesel, Natalie Emmanuel, Jordana Brewster, John Cena, Michael Rooker, Scott Eastwood, Daniela Melchior, Sung Kang, Tyrese Gibson, Cardi B, Ludacris. The list goes on and on. That is, of course, Fast X, the end of the road begins. Don Toretto and his family are targeted by the vengeful son of drug kingpin Hernan Reyes. This is directed by Louis Leterrier, the director of The Incredible Hulk. Chad, what did you think about this trailer for Fast X? Do you feel the family?
No doubt. I love this trailer. I love these movies. I've said it before. They're just big popcorn, dumb movies. I love them so much. And based on the cast, what you just said, we're either going to get, Keith, Aquaman versus Aquaman, or Aquaman on the same team as Aquaman.
That's a good point.
That's pretty cool.
So bring it on. I'm all about that. So there's a moment in this trailer that I literally just laughed out loud because it was so ridiculous and funny. When the harpoon goes through the car and Dominic in his car makes two helicopters crash into each other. It's the funniest freaking thing. It's so ridiculous. And I laughed and clapped watching this trailer. I was like, yes, I love it so much. I will be there opening night with a big smile on my face.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that sounds... I'm getting furious just thinking about it. Rob, your turn.
They have to make these movies now with their tongue in their cheek, only because I guess the movie like this is its own worst enemy, because you have to keep trying to one up the previous movie. And at some point you can't do it realistically. And they got to that point a long time ago. So they just have to go, what can we do that's cool? Okay, we got a lot of money. We can do the effects. The effects almost look real and good. They almost look fine. To me, what I look forward to is this. These shows back in the old days, there used to be a lot of variety shows on. Sonny and Cher, all these people would have variety shows, but you never would know who was going to be on the show till you sat down that night and they go, this week we have da-da-da. And when I see, these movies come out, I go, who's going to be in this? And I just look forward to some of my favorite actors, not slumming necessarily, but having a ball, doing some other shit. And again, I hadn't really followed along a whole lot, but sitting there watching this trailer, I was like, oh my fucking God, this is crazy. And, and then we have so-and-so starring. I was like, this is amazing. This is all my favorite act. This is great. I can't wait to see it. Yeah, that's awesome.
This is the dumbest fucking trailer for any movie I've ever seen in my life.
But it's fact.
There was dumb fun. You're right, Keith. Dumb fun.
Well, dumb fun, definitely. I don't know about that in, but there is a composited shot, a special effect shot of Vin Diesel looking into a car window, and they've digitally put the background of just a fucking town behind him. Like, this motherfucker couldn't be bothered to step outside for the shot. This had to be digitally composed. I have never looked at something and from the beginning just gone, no, so much. It's even Aquaman saying lines like, why settle for vengeance, brother, when justice can be found in the cold hearts of men, or whatever the fuck he said. This is moving on. That's how I feel.
I just like how they drew Aquaman into the background of all these previous movies, like he was the guy left behind.
You're getting flashbacks from prior movies and they're just putting him in it as awesome.
And some of those movies.
Say one thing, Rob. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to bitch you.
Yeah, okay. To go on what you said, Rob, about how one-upping themselves, Maggie watched it and she was like, yeah, but last time they went to space, this doesn't seem bigger.
That's funny.
I'm sure they're going to go to the quantum realm and Jason Momoa is going to grab a dragon out of the sky.
I thought Momoa might be the devil and they all go to hell. I don't know what. I just thought it'd be.
His name is Dante, so who knows?
Oh, could be. Shit.
Oh, shit.
Snap.
This fucking movie has me pissed off. But
I will be reviewing it for the podcast. I can promise you that.
That sounds wonderful.
Bring it, brother.
Speaking of emotions that movies make you feel, let's talk about our next film, written and directed by Ari Aster, starring Joaquin Phoenix, Parker Posey, Amy Ryan, Nathan Lane, Richard Kind, Kylie Rogers, Patti LuPone, Zoe Lister-Jones, Michael Gandolfini, Steph McKinley Henderson, Dennis Menochet, Julia Antonelli, Haley Squires, Joe Cobden, Theodore Polarin, Armin Napatayan, I don't know how to say that name right, Bradley Fisher, and Patrick Kwok-chun. This is Ari Aster's next film, Beau is Afraid, a decade-spanning portrait of one of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time. I would have not gotten that synopsis from the preview I saw in any capacity. Chad, what did you think about this sure to be A24 success?
Well, I'm going to go back to what you said about Fast 10. As soon as I watched this, I was like, no. So same deal. I have zero interest in this movie, and I mean zero. Ari Aster is a fine director.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that he needs to be edited, and I don't think that he's edited in this movie. I think they're letting him do whatever he wants, and it shows, and it's wild. It's all over the place. It's going to be weird for the sake of weird, and it's just no thanks. I'm not watching this. No.
So I hear that Chad's really excited. Rob, how do you feel about this movie?
Yeah, I run hot and cold on A24, but I'll say this, at least up till this point, every A24 trailer, I know what the story is, at least a semblance of story. I watched this and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. The last time I was that perplexed by a trailer was a million years ago when Robin Williams in What Dreams May Come. And I remember going, I don't know what the fuck this is. I have no idea what's going on here at all. And, to me, I've clearly Ari Aster is a singular storyteller in a sense. He's got a clear vision. He has a clear vision. I don't know what his vision is here by any stretch, but Joaquin Phoenix usually picks good scripts. He usually has an eye for script and story. I don't know what this is. If Joaquin missed the mark here, as much money as A24 made with Everything Everywhere All at Once, this may eat that all up in spades, because I don't know. I wouldn't go fuck. I have no idea what the fuck this is. I have no interest in seeing this.
I am disheartened by the fact that both of you guys are assholes, but I think to me,
but no surprise to you.
Yeah. Coming off of Hereditary and Midsommar, which are both dark ass movies, right? That have, I'd say Midsommar is a little bit more grounded than Hereditary is. Hereditary is sort of shot like a painting. But they both feel very realistic. This does not. This has Nathan Lane in it. And I haven't said that about anything in a long time. So the fact that Nathan Lane and Parker Posey are going to be sharing the same screen, sign me. The theater kid in me is freaking the fuck out, right?
Go see Theater Camp. That's coming out soon. But this movie is a disaster.
This has Joaquin Phoenix walking the yellow brick road. I don't know how you can't be excited about that. I'm stoked about it. I don't know what it means. I don't know any of that, but Ari Aster has not led me astray yet. And that leads me to the next film we're going to talk about. This next
film was a disaster from his elbow. No? Anybody? Try the veal.
That was rough. And that takes me to the next film we're going to talk about.
Ding!
Written by Dan Peralt, directed by Josh Greenbaum, starring the voices of Isla Fisher, Will Ferrell, Jamie Foxx, Will Forte as a live-action character, Randall Park, Hannah Aline, Tyler Antonius, Herdy Nasser, Jade Fernandez, Andrea Lang, Tanashi Kajisi, Alexandra Ficken,
and
Charity Cervantes. We got a bunch more here. Dan Peralt, Avon Lotz, Deandra Moore, Gabrielle Garcia, Garrett Hines, and Keith Brooks is also in this film, ladies and gentlemen. And the film is Strays. An abandoned dog teams up with other strays to get revenge on his former owner. Now, granted, there's not a lot I can say about this. I can sort of comment in grand strokes. But Chad, what did you think about the film Strays? Or the
I saw that you're in it. But it just says you're doing a voice, and so I was like, "Oh, well, that makes sense." They're not going to put his face on this movie. Are you kidding me? Come on, this movie looked wild. It said from the producers of Ted, and I don't know if it has anything to do with the writers, creators of Ted, but it definitely gave me a feel like Ted in the sense that it's something cute and cuddly, like a teddy bear or a little puppy dog. And then in the next breath, it said, I'm going to bite his dick off. It was awesome. It was so funny. I really want to see this movie. I mean, I like Will Ferrell anyway. Keith is in it, so it's going to be a must watch, of course.
Clearly.
But it looked really funny. And I was just, what I'm really curious about you guys, because I have a dog, but I'm not like a PETA person. I'm not huge into that. Like Rob, he is all about it. So I was just curious about Rob's opinion because of the way Will Forte is acting at the beginning. It's a comedy. It's not, it's not a drama where he's beating the dog, but he's certainly, the way the trailer starts is it's not cool the way he's acting.
No,
with the dog.
He's a dick to the dog, but he doesn't physically harm the dog. He doesn't.
Right.
And it's done under under an Arab cut with what you have Will Ferrell's voice off and everything. I'll take you one better. I think the pitch here is Elf meets Ted, because to me Will Ferrell is doing Buddy the Elf in a dog. But he gets to curse and be vulgar with his friends. I think that's fucking great. I thought it was hysterical from the beginning. I just think it looked like a shitload of fun. I'm in.
Yeah, I think the trailer looks really fun. Josh, the director, is a really funny guy. Go check out some of his previous work. He has a great documentary called Becoming Pond about George Lazenby, and then probably more indicative of what this is going to be is his movie Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar.
That was him. Okay, I didn't see that.
I love Barb and Star. Love it.
So
Very
that
funny
style of humor is kind of what you're going to get in this. Because again, he's just a very humorous dude. I will say that I think the trailer looks great. I think it is very much a story that's going to surprise you. 101 Dalmatians made for adults kind of idea. There were a lot of amazing, cute, adorable puppies on this set that I got to know. They're all fantastic, and it was just one of the best jobs I've ever been on. And I had a fucking heat stroke on this set, so that lets you know, like, it was a rough day. But working prior to that, got to go play with dogs every day, which is fucking great. I never get to do that. So yeah, I'm excited to see what comes of it. It looks fun. Looks like a lot of fun. But speaking of looking like a lot of fun and stuff coming our way, DC Comics is in new hands, and those new hands are the very capable hands, if you ask me, of Mr. James Gunn. Now, James Gunn has recently come out and announced the entire slate of films going forward, at least the first few, up until 2027. It is entitled Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. Now, it's kind of difficult to see exactly where those movies commence as a part of the DC universe, because apparently there are going to be 3 different branches going forward: DC Universe, DC Extended Universe, and DC Elseworlds. It feels like the DC Extended Universe will be phased out before 2025. So that meaning 2023 and 2024 will see some of these Elseworld projects and some of the DC Extended Universe projects. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to go over all of them from 2023 to 2027, everything that was announced. This first 4 we already know about, but we're just going to sort of bullet speed round through these and talk about our feelings as far as what we've seen, etc., for these films. So in 2023, a part of the DC Extended Universe still, we have a release of Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Chad, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm going to check it out. The first one was fun. So
yeah,
I'm all about this one.
Yep. Rob, what about you?
I was a little lukewarm on the first one, and the same on this one a little bit. It just feel. I mean, I see it. Of course, I'll see it, but I'm not that hyped on it.
Yeah, Rob doesn't know what he's talking about. Great. Moving on. Also in 2023, we have a film that a lot of conversation, a lot of heat about. They just released a new poster today, and that is The Flash, starring Ezra Miller and Michael Keaton. And according to Grace Randolph, maybe Val Kilmer or George Clooney or Christian Bale. Fuck Grace Randolph. I'm saying it right here. But The Flash, Chad, how do you feel about The Flash?
Yeah, I'm super excited about this one. Ezra Miller issues aside, I'm super excited about The Flash. I don't know what changes they're going to make or have made. But yeah, I'm excited about this one. Very much so. Yeah,
100%. Rob, what about you?
Yeah, this one looks it went through. It looks great. I'm excited for it, but it's I've been excited for a lot of different incarnations of this movie. This movie has changed, I mean, umpteen times since it was announced for many, many reasons. And I don't know what I'm glad it's in the hands of what I believe is a capable director, who is a good storyteller. So I think he's one of the people that, regardless of what bullshit's been thrown at him, and he has been a lot of bullshit's been thrown at him. I'm thinking he's somebody who can make, take lemons and make lemonade. I hope it's something good. I hope, again, James Gunn seems to be excited about it, but he's excited about everything right now. He's positive that everything's going to work out, and he's got a vision for this. I trust in James Gunn's vision. I hope he's not bullshitting us. I hope he's not playing a sort of a corporate business game, saying everything's connected just so we'll go see it. But that's the smart move. Yeah. If they don't like it, the smart move is, hey, this is all connected, so we'll go see it, and then go, well, didn't work out, blah blah blah. I get, and again, I wouldn't be shocked by that, surprised. I'd be disappointed, not angry. I would just be like, yeah, business is business. I get it. I did hear rumors that they talked about that the Brave and the Bold, the Bold and the Brave,
Brave and the Bold
could be. They said an older actor who played Batman previously. It's not going to be Val Kilmer. He can't do it because of his voice. He can't speak, and that's not going to happen. Clooney wants nothing to do with Batman for the next 10 years. They had no idea. If Dies one brain dead. Thank you,
Christian Bale.
Bale has said he didn't want to do another Batman unless Christopher Nolan was involved. But time has passed, and he changes, and things are good. And if it's a really good script, and James Gunn seems to have a real great rapport with actors and people. He really seems to make friends and really earn trust. I could see Bale wanting to do something maybe very good storytelling on a little lighter side, perhaps. And not be the main focus, because I think Damien Chazelle will be the main focus. Whatever the fuck the kid's name is. Damian Wayne? Thank you.
Yeah, it's not Chazelle, but that'd be interesting if Batman's
Damien Chazelle and
all right,
Batman.
in order to be a good director, you have to find justice.
Music.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, that whole debate thing happens because Grace Randolph said that she went into a screening and that a Batman who has previously played Batman is returning. And she posted a picture of 3 options. And she said, it's one of these. I'll let you decide. Some people sort of, clamored on her because one of the 3 pictures she posted were Val Kilmer, George Clooney, and Christian Bale. Val Kilmer is a man who sadly has lost the ability to speak. Yes. So a lot of people gave her some shit for don't even do that. That's not even something kind to do to him. Then James Gunn was approached with this. And so Grace Randolph then says, this will be James Gunn's Batman going forward. James Gunn replied and said, nothing you said is true in any way. And
he said that about her before.
Yeah. And he said that the new Batman will be a completely new Batman. So we'll see. That being said, I think there's totally possible that in the Flash we'll see.
Well, yeah, sure. That makes total sense.
The rumor is Christopher Reeve's going to show up, and he's been dead for a long time. So, but I think that James Gunn has had a sense of transparency, even when he was talking about how Warner Brothers dicked Henry Cavill around. And I would like to think that that transparency goes and extends all the way to him saying, when he said The Flash is one of the best superhero movies he's ever seen.
How fucked up? I mean, not to stop. If the Christopher Reeve Foundation or the family that owns his stuff, if they gave permission, and the effects are so good now that for just a moment, Christopher fucking Reeve, I think that would be over fucking whelming.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Especially, I love Henry Cavill. Christopher Reeve is Superman. Even that's not my generation Superman. Dean Cain is mine, and I like him a lot. But Christopher Reeve embodies everything that is Superman.
That gave me goosebumps just thinking about that.
I don't know if we've ever talked about this. This is like an inside baseball thing. But they teach you a Christopher Reeve method of auditioning at Juilliard because he was one of our kids, right? So the thing you do is you take your script in with you, And then right before they yell action, you fold it and you put it in your pocket or you put it down on the ground. This idea of like trying to flex and say, I don't even need this. I got this. But that's like a trademark Christopher Reeve thing. And so that's a part of the process you're taught about like psychological warfare during an audition.
I do the opposite. I get out there and I go,
do you have a script?
I don't got this. Hold on a second.
Exactly. No, I've seen your work. I know.
Do you yell line a lot, Rob? Line?
I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Can we cut? Anyway, so that's the Flash. Following that, we have another what may be a DC extended universe, what may be a part of the DC universe, and that is Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle Jaime is a character I absolutely love. Chad, what do you think about this Blue Beetle film?
Yeah, this is interesting because again, we haven't seen anything about him. I mean, in the other movies.
Yeah.
And I like the actor Cholo is the guy who plays Blue Beetle. I like Blue Beetle as well. But this could easily be part of the regular, the new going forward DCU because we haven't seen anything. There's no pre-existing things. Again, we don't know the script or anything. But this was interesting. We really need to see a trailer though for this.
Absolutely. Rob, what about you? What do you think?
I like the color blue. I was a fan of the
Good.
Beatles.
Okay.
He doesn't know
Other
Blue
than that,
Beetle. Move on.
I know nothing, but I like the Blue Beetle, the Volkswagens. I thought they were great. I thought they were a big fan. I like them to come back a little bit.
Great. Yeah, sounds great.
Beetle Bailey was a good comic strip in the magazine in the papers. You know, I like that. Sometimes the ink was blue.
Terry Gordy all the way. So
Gordon.
I think to me, it's the thing that makes this all feel finicky is that we don't have a clear definition of when things end and when things begin. We're still in that limbo point, right? Well, we don't know what's going to be a holdover. I don't know. And that leads us to our next one, which is definitely a DC EU film. I'm interested to see if it carries on. There's been some weird comments about it, but Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom starring Jason Momoa. Gunn's come out and said that Momoa wanted to do a trilogy of Aquaman, and that's still on the table. But is he going forward as Arthur Curry, or Chad? How do you feel?
I like the first Aquaman movie. I really did. I mean, it wasn't a perfect film by any means.
No.
But I liked it a lot, and I like Momoa's Aquaman. I really do. And, the rumors of him playing Lobo, it's fine. Lobo's fine. I like his Aquaman. Again, it's all about what they're going to do with the new universes, all this. But I'm definitely looking forward to watching this movie.
Same here. Rob, what about you?
I like Momoa. Look, say what you want. Like he's got charisma. He's fun to watch. He has a ball on screen. Nobody looks like they're having more fun when they're acting than Momoa. He's a fine Aquaman. Look, the movie made over $1 billion, so I know I'm in the minority here. I thought it was a little bit of a slog to get through. It was fine. I don't see them continuing with him as Aquaman past this. But again, that doesn't mean, they're doing a multiverse thing. I think it'd be kind of cool to shift someone similar into the character of Lobo. I know very little about Lobo. It sounds pretty cool. But again, Momoa sounds perfect for the part.
Yeah,
he seemed excited coming out, supposedly. I mean, I don't know why he'd just play along. I'm excited if he was being fired. I don't know why that was, unless he's being dicked around. I don't know. I'm going to see every one of these movies. Don't get me wrong. And it'll be the Thursday at the theater, and just so I don't see spoilers. But I hope. Look, I trust James Gunn. If they let him do this, then I have no doubt that I will enjoy this more than the DCEU.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll say the strength of the Snyderverse was never the storytelling. I think you had some good stories, some great filmmakers, but mostly you had really strong casting.
Was the best thing about it.
Even if the actors weren't phenomenal actors, they were all charismatic. And Momoa isn't the comic book Arthur Curry, but he's a damn good Arthur Curry in the sense that he carries that movie, and never do you feel. I don't feel the lack of progress in the movie. I don't think the movie's exceptional by any means, but it's flashy and it's really pretty, and it doesn't anger me like some of those Zack Snyder movies did. You know what I mean? I think James Wan really had the opportunity to say, "I'm not just about horror. Let me show you all the stuff I could do." I think keeping him as Aquaman is fine with me. Moving him to Lobo, that's great as well. But I think the problem there is, you've now cast a Polynesian actor in this role that's central to water. Are you going to go back and make it a white guy now if you're getting rid of him? because that feels a little backwards. You know what I mean? But we'll see what happens. But that leads us on to 2024 with what's our first official Elseworlds release, which is Joker, Folie Deux. Chad, this stars Joaquin Phoenix, who I know you're super excited to see in Beau is Afraid, and then Lady Gaga. How are you feeling? Directed again by Todd, whatever his name is. Are you looking forward to Joker Part 2?
Todd Shazam. Thank you.
I am looking forward to Joker Part 2. I was not looking forward to the first Joker, but I thought it was really good and really well done. I thought it was going to be, but I thought it was just going to be super depressing and dark for the sake of being dark.
Yeah.
But it could be that Joaquin Phoenix's performance elevated it to a different level, to the point where I really enjoyed it. And so I'm looking forward to it, with Lady Gaga coming on board, with rumors that it might be a partial musical.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, to say the least. So
I am fascinated to see the first Joker. Todd Phillips is clearly a student of Scorsese. He loves Scorsese. He holds Scorsese's visions in high esteem. That was clearly Taxi Driver was all over that movie.
King of comedy.
King of comedy. I'm wondering, what was Scorsese's musical?
New York.
I'm wondering if this is gonna. I kind of want to go back and watch New York right now, and then go, hey, how close is Phillips really following the playbook here? And I'd be fine if he was. I mean, shit. Like, Lady Gaga's got one of the greatest voices of all time. Yeah. She's charismatic. I dig her. I think she's loaded with talent. Todd Phillips, I thought the first Joker was tremendous. It was absolutely tremendous. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this.
I think the first Joker is one of the shittiest movies I've ever seen in my life. Like, I find it to be a completely hollow experience that is trying to be something elevated.
Did you see Creature of the Night, where I puppeted the head of
I mean, I would rather have seen, but I feel like the thing is that it has Zazie Beetz and Joaquin Phoenix doing great jobs. Like, and the lady from American Horror Story is phenomenal in it. And you have who I think Todd Phillips, I don't think is a good filmmaker by any means. Like, that's my personal opinion. I see flaws in his filmmaking because I feel it's similar to Zack Snyder, and you're painting a pretty picture, but you don't know why you're putting the picture together the way you are. And I feel like he just got lucky with some amazing performances that made it feel like that movie was elevated. Granted, that's my opinion, and I accept that that's not the widely held opinion. That being said, I can't wait to see. I think Todd Phillips just broke into Rob Prago's house or something. But I'm
Steve Brooks talking shit about me again. I don't know what Todd Phillips sounds like, but maybe.
But that I'm sure, yeah. But I'm
angry voice.
Yeah, especially angry voice. I'm excited to see what this will be. I like Lady Gaga a lot as Harley Quinn. That's a good idea to me, and I'm excited to see.
It's a good idea.
A different version of Harley Quinn, right? So yeah, I'll watch it. I own Joker on Blu-ray, even though I don't like it, but I still own it because I'm.
Dude, you gave it half a star on Letterboxd, I believe,
yeah.
And you own it on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So, and you did not watch it first by buying it on Blu-ray. You watched it at the theater, I'm assuming,
twice, just to make sure I hated it.
Then did somebody leave this at your house on accident, or did you actually physically buy Joker on Blu-ray?
Physically bought it. I'm such a completionist that I'm like, I have Steel on DVD. I have Return of the Swamp Thing. Like, I have all of them.
That was back when there were only like 8 comic book movies total.
Period. Yeah.
So it's totally normal for you to own Steel. That's fine.
But I bought Steel last year. I bought Steel last year. I have Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I have Morbius. Like, it's all bad, but I feel like I have to, like, or else I'm going to lose the nerd card. It's rough. I
can promise you.
Oh, I appreciate it. I think Todd Phillips killed Rob. No, he's back now.
It was so windy and stormy. I heard something. It sounded like a truck drove through my front yard. It was bizarre. But I went outside, and a gust of wind was so heavy that it blew over both my garbage cans and dragged another one, and it just was scraping across my driveway.
Oh, damn.
Crazy.
Oh.
You were pretty quick though for all that happened. Did you just leave it out there, or did you fix it? Because you were quick back.
No, I ran. Well, my house is about this big, so I just ran out the front, saw it, pulled up. Yeah, I wasn't on that later.
So next up, we have a hell of a movie, one that I'm arguably one of the most excited about from this. It is a DC Elseworlds film. It should slated to come out in 2024, and that is Constantine 2, starring Keanu Reeves. Chad, what do you think about Keanu returning to be John Constantine?
Hold on, I thought this was not on the list.
This is on the DC list right now. I'm looking at it.
Because I don't think did he say that on his. No.
But this is the official, according to their website, the timeline for what they have.
I'm calling BS, but we'll talk about it. Okay, good.
That's fine. Go ahead, Chad. What you think about it?
So we'll see if it comes out, because Rob, insider information apparently. He's the Grace Randolph of our podcast, so we will.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
She's way meaner than I am. She's way meaner than I am. She's the devil. I'm devilish. She's the devil. Thank you.
I was not like a big fan of the original Constantine. I love Keanu Reeves. The original Constantine is fine. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, it's a little slow. It's out there and weird. I will definitely check this out though. Not going to own it in Blu-ray like you own movies that you don't like definitely. On Blu-ray.
Rob, what about you? What do you think about Constantine 2? What you think may or may not be happening?
There's not a chance in hell this movie's happening.
Rob was cast in it, and they said, "Oh, Rob, we're not making it." That's just what they told him, but really, they're just recasting him.
Damn it! He's gonna play his brother. Sucks. No, I just can't imagine that this was announced prior to the whole thing, and he didn't. There's no way this is fucking happening. I hope it does. Look, the first time I saw it, this is one of those movies that's become like a guilty pleasure over the years, where I'll watch moments of it. Like I'll pull on HBO Max or whatever, if I catch it somewhere, I'll go. I love the way it looks. I like the way it's shot. I think he's cool as shit in it. It's okay. He sort of elevates it for me a little bit. And there are moments that I really, really like about it. So over time, it's sort of grown on me where I kind of look at it like, it's kind of cool. Though I'd love to see him come back. How many years later now? It's 20 years later. How long has it been?
Something like that. Yeah, it's got to be.
And play that would be very cool. If again, Flash resets it, multiverse, bam, bam, you're in that world. That'd be awesome. I just don't know how much of the stuff that wasn't part of James Gunn's vision that he feels the need to or obligated to include in this very fine wire he's going to be walking. So I don't know.
Yeah. I feel though that Keanu Reeves has earned such a favored spot within fandom, and that the love for this film has done nothing but grown since its release. It didn't do well upon initial release at all, but I think that was because people who weren't comic fans didn't really know what to expect from the character or what this movie was going to be. I fucking love this movie. I feel exactly the opposite of what I felt about Joker with this one, because you get Rachel Weisz, Keanu Reeves, Peter Stormare, Tilda Swinton, even Shia LaBeouf I like in this movie. And so to see a sequel to that, all of the crazy shit they could do, I'm totally here for it. And it fits well within, even if it's an Elseworld thing, within the Gods and Monsters bracket. But that takes us to our next one, which is 2004, an animated series called Creature Commandos. Now, I'm not really familiar very much with this group. To me, I guess they're just the version of DC's version of Howling Commandos, but led by Rick Flag Sr. Chad, are you familiar with this group? How do you feel about it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm like Rob. I like Commando, the movie with Arnold.
Yep.
And I like a lot of.
I like going Commando without underwear. I like it. I like it. Great. Yeah.
Gross.
Creatures. I love creature features, things like that. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about this comic, these characters. No, I don't know.
I don't mean to cut you off with my disgusting Commando reference. Are the creatures in this? I don't know anything about it. Are the creatures in this? Are they the classic Universal? Not Universal. That doesn't make any sense. Are they the classic creatures like Frankenstein, that shit. And it's like,
yeah. So from the picture that they have released, let me pull that up. Creature Commandos. Because all of the comic book companies, they have their own like sort of little version of this, because there's a lot of,
public domain
characters. So it looks like who you have is Rick Flag Sr., which Rick Flag is Joel Kinnaman's character from the Suicide Squad films.
Yeah.
Then you have Weasel, which is from the Suicide Squad. You have Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, a creature from the Black Lagoon sort of character. Dr. Phosphorus, who is a Batman villain, who's the guy who looks to be on fire, and then some sort of robot-looking motherfucker in a World War I outfit. I don't know.
I'm in.
Yeah, like I'm down for the idea. I like it. I think it's going to be, plus the animated series. I really like most of DC's animated stuff is fire. So
I like what he said too, though. I like he said they're going to try to cast, when they do cast voiceover actors, I want to cast the actors who can play them in live action. So
I do like
that's
that
what
too.
they want. They're not promising, but that's what they're aiming for right now. So.
I hope they get Kinnaman to play the dad. And
that's what I was
son.
thinking the same thing. I'd like to see him play his own dad and do a little. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. But that takes us to our next series, also releasing 2024, Waller. So this is going to be an HBO Max series following Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, with some characters from the Peacemaker coming over. Chad, what do you think about the idea of Waller?
Well, one of the things I didn't like that James Gunn didn't say was he didn't talk about Peacemaker other than this.
Yeah.
And I loved Peacemaker. And if this is their continuation of Peacemaker, I'm not happy about that. I just don't feel like Waller exists. She does, but exists in the Peacemaker world that they've built. And as far as like how funny it is and how irreverent it is, that's not Waller. And the show's called Waller. So I just don't see them having a show about Amanda Waller that's going to be as funny and as goofy as Peacemaker. So I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
But I think, and if I could step over Rob, because I don't care what he says, it's like the option you have here is we've established all these silly characters in Peacemaker. Now, if we take Waller in the tone that you would naturally think and make it more serious, are we proving that these characters can exist in a multitude of different tonalities to say that the DCU doesn't all have to feel the same? You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's like the effort of this, if it is the way we perceive it to be.
I'd like to, or maybe maybe I misunderstood you, but or the flip side of that could be, can Waller be the glue and she exists in all kinds of different worlds and tonalities because she's so powerful where she can deal with the Justice League, but she could also deal with the Suicide Squad, or she could also do, where she's that, where she bounces, where I know what you're saying, Chad. I mean, Peacemaker was, arguably it's one of our favorite shows of all time, comic book wise. But I wonder if Gunn feels the pressure to kill one of his babies and not show preferential treatment to the universe because that's his. Now, that's if again, I don't know how successful it was. I know how great it was. I don't know what kind of numbers it drew. I don't know if you could look at it and go, business wise, you've got to do this. So, it could be that. But I wonder if maybe week to week, she's dealing with different elements, different heroes individually, different groups individually. So it becomes a more which part of the DCU is she dealing with this week? What's the problem? What does she have to solve? Who does she have to set straight, kill, get in line? And just kind of watch her get a little more personal with Amanda Waller in her everyday life and how she just exists. Which might be cool. I don't know.
And it could be a good way too to introduce the idea of one shared universe going between film and television, cartoons and all that stuff, where Waller this week has to deal with Jimmy Olsen, and then the next week Apollo. So that way we get an idea of the Authority and we get an idea of Superman, et cetera, et cetera. We can lay that framework before we even get to those movies. The same thing they intended to do with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but then just kind of gave up on.
Yeah.
But that takes us to 2025, when he says the official start of the DCU is with a film entitled Superman Legacy. Now, we don't know much. We know that Superman will have been active for a while, but he's still young. Chad, what are you thinking about Superman Legacy so far?
Well, he has to announce it you would think a Superman movie in this first phase.
Yeah.
Superman is the big gun. I mean, you can say Batman all you want, but Superman is the DC.
He's the flagship character. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just feel like, yeah, you got to announce this. We don't really know anything about it. Obviously, we're going to watch it at Superman. I like that James Gunn is the one writing it. So he's going to have hands on all this, but he seems like he's really going to have his hands in this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see how his take on Superman.
Yep. Rob, what about you?
I'll say this. I think it's the linchpin in the sense that if it doesn't financially and critically hit, it's trouble for him. I think this is what everybody's looking at. Everything else has been tweaked and blah blah blah. Just to get to this point. If it doesn't make the quote unquote $1 billion, if it doesn't quote unquote be 87% Rotten Tomatoes, if it doesn't, I think that's what they're going to look at. I think, does he hit that or does he not hit that? And again, do I want to like it? Sure. But if we're looking at a shared universe at sort of the launching of something, I think he has to land with this. This has to be Iron Man. This has to be, it just really does. So I all I can say is I'm pulling for him. What do I think? Fuck, I don't know. I hope he nails it. I don't know.
Yeah. I want a good Superman movie. I want a good Superman movie that isn't just Superman versus Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
The name is weird. I don't necessarily like the name, but I wonder if the name has a clue that none of us are picking up on. If there is going to be a passing of the torch, sort of reverse Legion of Superheroes thing, where instead of Superman going to the future, a Superman of the future comes back to hand over the battalion and like help him in some way or something like that. I would love to see a live action interpretation of Man of Tomorrow. They did an amazing animated film of that, where the villain is Parasite. And you got Lobo right there. So make Jason Momoa Lobo, cast Henry Cavill as Parasite, and then have your new Superman, and then we'll all feel like it's connected to some degree. You know what I mean? I think that would be fun. But that's not the only big name coming out in 2025. Now, Chad erroneously said a minute ago that Superman is DC, but we all know who the real star is. The numbers go to Batman, and in 2025 we will see the Batman Part 2, Matt Reeves' second installment, not sexiest, probably a DC Elseworlds film. Chad, what are you thinking? We don't know anything really about Bat. We know there's a Penguin show coming. We know how many episodes there are, but we don't know anything else. What do you think about Batman Part 2?
First, I want to say I don't want to watch the Penguin show, but Batman is my favorite DC character. I love him. And I really enjoyed the Batman movie. The Batman was not in my top 5. I think maybe it might have been in both of y'all's. It's definitely in yours, Keith. Yeah. It might have been in Rob's. I can't remember.
I
enjoyed it.
It was all right. It was weird. I had problems with it.
But, yeah, so I'm looking forward to Part 2 for sure. Like, no doubt, I'm looking forward to it.
His eyes rolled so high, I thought he was having a seizure.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
I don't like Constantine. The Batman's fine. Fuck the Penguin is Colin Farrell. Well,
I'll say this: I'd like to see that Penguin show though. I wanted more Penguin.
God, it's going to be so slow and boring. Oh my God!
You're slow and boring.
We're gonna have to watch this for the show,
Gordon.
And
You're slow and boring.
I'm going to watch the first episode, and I'm going to tap out. I'm telling y'all right now.
What if the opening credits are fast, Chad? What if the opening credits are quick? What if they get right to it?
Penguin.
Where's the Penguin? Penguin.
I'm excited about Batman Part 2. I want to see what villain he brings in. I'm dying to see some more of Batman's fantastical villains that we haven't had a chance to. I don't know that we're going to get them here. I think we're probably going to get Mad Hatter, Firefly, something like that. But I'm stoked. I loved Pattinson as Batman. I love their world of Gotham. I can't wait to see what they do with it. And then speaking of worlds, also in 2025, we're going to be exploring the Lanterns, an HBO Max series that's going to be, according to James Gunn, True Detective, with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. Rob, that's not the Daily Show host.
God damn it! Oh, screw it then. He's not Jewish then. Forget it.
Yeah. Chad, what do you think about Lanterns?
Green Lantern is one of my favorite characters in the DCU or the DC Comics world, and I do like how there's a bunch of them, but a bunch of different Green Lanterns. I don't know how that's going to work, as far as the detective story. It might just be grounded for those two. But will there be cosmic elements, kind of like Watchmen, maybe with Dr. Manhattan, how it's like that's kind of a mystery with, other things happening. So it might be cool. But so what they've done, and you correct me wrong, they've just totally scrapped the original Lanterns idea they had with Guy Gardner and all that stuff. This is just a brand new from scratch. So yeah, I want to see a live action Green Lantern, whether that's TV or movies that's good. Let's do it.
Yeah. And Rob, you go ahead. What are your thoughts on this?
My concern is this. I just don't know how they follow one of the greatest superhero movies of all time with the one that really strengthened him for Deadpool. How do you follow that Green Lantern movie? This is the first thing I go, I'm familiar with these characters, and then it hasn't been done right yet. I can't wait to see them do this. This is the one I'm the most excited about to see. And the way he pitched it, I was like, fuck yeah, an edgy, dark police drama with people who have these powers. If they don't make it silly, if it is HBO quality, True Detective, well, for all I care, you can cast Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. Let's let him pick up where they left up. These guys got powers. Fuck it, to see what happens. That'd be fucking great.
I have a complicated relationship with Green Lantern.
What a crazy comment.
Yeah. So the first time I saw Green Lantern, the Ryan Reynolds film, I was in Chicago working on a shitty movie called Altered. And I had a day off. So I went to the theater and I saw the movie. I was the only person in the theater and I laughed. I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. It felt like all the campy Green Lantern comics I was more familiar with, which is Hal Jordan to a T. And then I walk out of the theater and they're filming an episode of bum fights on the side of the sidewalk in front of the theater. And I was like, Chicago's weird. And so anyway, so I own Green Lantern on Blu-ray, clearly. And I think some of the casting in it is absolutely fucking perfect. I think the vast majority of the tone of it, I'm totally fine with. Like, that feels like the cosmic Green Lantern I know. So me affiliating, and I loved the Cartoon Network Green Lantern series. Loved that cartoon.
I did too. It was great.
Yeah, it was great. But that's what Green Lantern is to me. It's outer space. It is quirky. It's weird. So when you tell me an earthbound, dark, True Detective, I'm like, what fucking Green Lantern are you talking about? Like, because that doesn't feel Lantern to me. You know what I mean? But granted, these comics are up for interpretation. I know Hal will go on to be Parallax and Spectre and all that shit. But yeah, I like a little more cheesy in my lanterns, because one of them is a squirrel. So I can't see the squirrel investigating a sexual assault. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Wasn't that the whole plot of Chippendale Rescue Rangers?
Touche. Actually agreed. It worked really well too. So surprising. But then that's not the only TV series of 2025 being brought to us by HBO Max and DC. In addition to that, we will have the long rumored Paradise Lost, centered around the Amazonians. We don't know what time period. We don't know if this is prior to Diana leaving or post Diana leaving. And so then, with that being said, we don't know if Gal is still our Wonder Woman or not. Chad, how do you feel about the show focusing on the Amazons' Paradise Lost?
Hey, Rob, is Gal still going to be Wonder Woman after this?
I would bet no, but I don't know. Look, she was not the problem with that second fucking movie.
No.
That was story, direction. That was a bad idea. That was just a flat out bad idea and poorly implemented. It's so funny, though. Those two movies sort of bookend the DCU for me. Wonder Woman's the best DCU movie. Wonder Woman 84 is the worst fucking DCU movie. So is she good? Yeah, I don't know. It just, again, what does James Gunn want to do? I heard rumors that a lot of people didn't want Gal Gadot. She was hired by, what's his name?
Zack Snyder.
Yeah, Snyder. So It's what is Gunn's? I trust Gunn's vision when it comes to casting the right people. Now, if he sees Wonder Woman, the first one, her, and she's it, yeah, that's great. I don't know if her range takes her. I think she's perfect for that Wonder Woman movie. She is. I mean, that's what she did. That amazing. Everything else I've ever seen her in, I'm like, it's a little forced, it's a little pushed, but man, she fit in that like a fucking glove. So I would imagine Gunn will look at that and go, I want to do more. I need more for my actor. And unless it's in a multiversal quick thing, type thing, my guess would be that he would recast Wonder Woman. That'd be my guess. But I was talking to Grace. I don't know.
Everything you said led to like what I thought you were going to say. She's going to be around. And then at the end, you just changed. You were like, yeah, so I got a bunch of cheese, some tomatoes, some bread, some pepperoni. I'm making a salad. And that's what it felt like to me.
Really? Because I thought I was saying that I think Gunn would see this. He needs something a little more for his vision.
That's to me at least. It didn't come off that way, but fine. What you felt.
I think when I thought I was in Zag, I Shyamalan you at the end, give you a twist.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I totally feel like you twisted me. I think Gal Gadot. I think she is perfect as Wonder Woman. And again, I think you run into the same problem now that you've got a woman of color to play this character. How do you change that up? How do you go back to a different perspective on it? But I think to me, if the DC chapter 1 is gods and monsters, these are your gods, right? This deals directly with them. And there are so many, and James Gunn is such a fucking nerd that he knows all of the other characters to come out of the Amazon. So you're going to get, in my opinion, you're going to get Nubia, you're going to get Diana Troy, you're going to get Artemis, Yara, like all of those characters are ample places for us to, if we start here, then the DCU from the beginning is filled with people of multiracial backgrounds, mini-gendered, all that sort of stuff. So I think it's a good move. I wonder if we get Robin right. I wonder if we get Gal. I wonder if those are holdovers. But again, like I think Gal is very loved as the character, but apparently,
I think so too. Again, I don't think anybody's blaming her for that for Wonder Woman 84. I don't think anybody is.
No,
you just want her out. We got it, Rob.
I don't even want her out. I would think Gunn would want something else, though. Again, I thought she was great. Again, I feel terrible Affleck didn't get a solo Batman movie. That drives me crazy.
Me too.
Missed out tremendously on him writing and or directing something that dark. That well, I think. But that would be great.
I wonder how many of the problems were because of the execs. Like, it's coming out now, some rumors that part of Wonder Woman 84 was taken out of Patty Jenkins' hands.
Yeah.
And so, like, I wonder how much of that was happening because of the higher authority. And that leads us into 2026, where we're talking about another film of the DCU that's premiering. And this was a surprise to me. Chad and I even texted back and forth about, like, it came out of fucking nowhere, The Authority. Now, if you're unfamiliar with The Authority, comic books do this all the time, where we want to tell a story featuring these characters, but we can't use those characters. So we're going to establish our own pastiche archetypes of that. Watchmen is that. The Squadron Supreme from Marvel is the Justice League. And this is a version of the Justice League with maybe a little bit of X-Men qualities. The two main characters are Apollo and Midnighter. Who are Batman and Superman respectively, but Midnighter has powers and they are a romantic couple. So yeah, it's an interesting way to discuss, and does everything that Watchmen does, which is for another generation, examining what happens if those powers become totalitarian. Chad, how do you feel about an Authority movie?
I was super surprised about this too, and because this is the beginning of James Gunn's, and this is not a property that people know. I mean, yeah, hardcore fans know, like me and you. The only way Rob knows about this is if he watched a YouTube video about it.
That's it. 100%.
The only way.
The Spectral Authority is going to come in with the spectral vision. Go ahead, Chad.
But I love the Authority. I think this could be really good, but I just wonder if it's the right move. I mean, I know James Gunn did Guardians of the Galaxy through Marvel, which is another property that only hardcore fans would know. But the Guardians, by the time it came out, the MCU had such goodwill by that point that you had to make a good film, of course, but people are going to go watch it because it's like, oh, well, this is a continuation of this universe that we're on board for 100%. And again, this is early and it's the Authority. So this is an interesting move, I feel like.
Absolutely. This is, according to him, would be the second film to come out as a proper DCU film. Rob, how do you feel about it?
I don't know anything about it. Just what it was described, it sounded cool. It's so weird. You're so right saying that. It's just so early on in their thing. But there are moments I just kind of step back and I look at James Gunn and Marvel blurs with DC and I go, oh, this what's next in the comic book world? And I go, just give it to me. And I wonder if there's sort of still a bleed. I wonder if that happens to other fans of these movies who go, yeah, this is the next comic book movie. And even if one or two of those first movies are good, we're on board. Let's hop on the train and what's next. And, I still think this conspiracy is Gunn's put in place. So if and when this works 4 years down the road, him and Feige are going to cross over DC and Marvel. And they're going to do a Marvel versus DC. That's what they're setting this shit up for.
I would be shocked if that didn't happen as an animated film at this point. But that being said, now it's come out that whole Eminem controversy was fake. So anything can be faked at this point. So I think.
What color Eminem? What are you talking about?
The whole them firing the fake M&Ms and giving Maya Rudolph the job. Because now the M&Ms have all dispersed into like the green M&M is the spokesperson for Snickers and all sorts of shit.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It's okay.
It's a setup. It's a setup for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I know that, by the way, Keith, I didn't get my invite to your Super Bowl party, so I'm not happy about that. I know you love football.
All the way. I love the football. Yeah, I think the Authority is a weird choice right off the bat, but I wonder how involved this storyline is going to be. If it's going to be, instead of Superman Legacy just being a Superman movie, does that lead into him fighting the Authority? And so the second one is the Superman versus so the Authority becomes Superman versus the Authority. You know what I mean? Because nowadays in the comics, Superman has established his own team of the Authority. And so I wonder if that sort of synergy is going to happen in some way here. I don't know. It's just a lot of speculation at this point. And I don't want to sound too much like old man Grace there. But speaking of old man, in 2026, apparently the greatest hero of all time's a little older as we go into Batman, the Brave and the Bold. Chad, what do you think about Batman, the Brave and the Bold with Damian Wayne?
And this is interesting. I love Batman. I'm always up for a Batman movie, but we've got a Batman going on right now, Robert Pattinson, Batman 2. So it's a little weird. We're just having another Batman. Batman Brave and the Bold, the cartoon, was very tongue-in-cheek, very, funny. That's not Damian Wayne, so I don't think it's going to be like that at all. It's interesting. I don't know how I feel about this one yet. I really don't. I mean, I need to know more, but to me, this is another odd choice where we already have Batman. And again, I know James Gunn in his announcement was talking about Elseworlds, and Pattinson's a part of Elseworlds. But we're going to throw Brave and the Bold in here. I don't know.
Rob, what about you? How do you feel about it?
Well, when Batman's done well, it's my favorite character. When it's done well, when it's done to my liking. I don't want to say when it's done well. That's subjective. When it's done to my liking. Again, trusting in James Gunn. I don't want to sound like a broken record here. I'm not familiar with. I know a little bit about the character of Damian Wayne. I know the whole Ra's al Ghul and the daughter connection. What would be cool? I don't think this is going to happen. What would be cool at the end of the third Batman movie with Bale and what Ra's al Ghul's daughter? She's phenomenal actress.
Talia, Marion Cotillard.
So they imply that maybe she died. What would be awesome is if she didn't, and they had a kid together. And timing wise, this almost plays out fairly well. That you have Christian Bale as Batman, you have the kid here, and she, she makes a pair. Now you have two amazing Academy Award winning actors who are sort of the parents of this fucking demon child in a cool world. That's me dreaming. That's me going Daniel Day-Lewis's Doom. I'm sorry. I mean, that's what that is. But that would be fucking cool.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know what this is, so I have no idea. I'm just gonna dream. I'm gonna dream.
I think to me, one of the things that bothers me or gives me pause is the title The Brave and the Bold means a very specific thing to Batman fans. And it means that there's going to be a team up. Like, that's always what Brave and the Bold means. In the comics from the 70s to the cartoon, it means Batman's going to join forces with somebody else. So, and if they're playing that as like Damian, that doesn't feel like a joining forces. That feels like it's a Robin. That's just what Batman has, is he has Robins to spare. Right. The other thing is, it seems apparent to me from things like Paradise Lost, from Lanterns, The Authority, all of that, that Gunn wants to hit the ground running with an already established universe, that he is not interested in origin stories. Because by the time you get to Damian, you've gone through 3 kids already that now have emotional damage. So I'm interested to see all of that. Also, how much older Batman is going to be than Supes, because they're generally played as, contemporaries. But Batman's going to have to have, unless he was knocking people up at 19. But according to mythos, he didn't really even become Batman until 30. So I don't know. I mean, but that's most comics. So you could still sort of change that. I'm obviously going to watch it and get a tattoo of it and own it on Blu-ray.
Obviously.
But that leads me into our next project. We have 3 more to discuss, and that is a series on HBO Max, Booster Gold, also said to be coming in 2026. Chad, what do you think about Booster Gold?
Booster Gold, he's fine. He's kind of, cocky as well or whatever. He's the guy, he's from the future. And he's just here to be famous.
Yeah.
So that to me could be more of like a comedy show where, it's more funny and not dark at all and not even taking it seriously. This could be the new Peacemaker, frankly.
Absolutely. This, Rob, you can relate to this guy just trying everything to be famous and failing miserably.
And he knows the answers to everything because he's from the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
But still somehow forgot things. Like,
what?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, the records are not great for this time period. He always says that.
I do nothing about Booster Gold. Brewster. What is it?
Booster.
Red Rooster, Terry Taylor.
Rooster, Cocky Gold. Yeah. Everything I've heard about it sounds like a lot of fun. It does. It sounds a little bit like tone wise of what's the Marvel? They're doing the Marvel series.
Wonder Man.
What's that?
Wonder Man.
Yeah, Wonder Man. It kind of sounds and feels in my head a little bit like Wonder Man. I can picture Nathan Fillion in both roles at a certain point.
Well, Nathan Fillion voiced Booster Gold for a while, so
that's hysterical.
Yeah.
So I get this again, like everything. It comes down to casting it. Boy, who's the guy? Who's the guy? That would be tremendous. It sounds like a blast. I mean, this sounds like a great story. Somebody comes back from the future. He wants to be revered. He wants to be loved. He can do things to convince people he's a superhero. He's just insecure as fuck. I mean, it sounds great.
And plus, he's got a robot sidekick. Like, all of it's just super. I love this character. Every iteration I've seen. I mean, I know he shows up in all the animated stuff. I think he was in the Arrowverse. I think he's in Smallville. Like, he's been in a lot of things, and he's always deserved his own television show because it's just such a great fucking idea. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I do think this has to be comedic. Like, there's no way you make this dark. But I'm stoked about it. And that takes us to our next one, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Supergirl, where the fuck have you been? Did you not see the great movie with Helen Slater? But also, it's about Clark Kent, Kal-El's cousin, sent away before he was, but due to time dilation, arrives after he does. And in the comic that this is seemingly based on, she is celebrating her 21st birthday and decides to go on a intergalactic adventure to do so. So she's going for a girls' night out just across the galaxy. Chad, how do you feel about the idea of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow?
Y'all check this out. I think that the Supergirl in the Flash movie, she looks bad as shit. She looks awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if this is going to be the same actor. Probably not. They're going to change it. But she looks awesome. She looks so awesome in the Flash movie. But I'll definitely watch this. It's Supergirl. Yeah.
Yep. Rob, what about you?
Quick question: what was the movie that was written off for tax purposes? That was
Batgirl.
Batgirl.
That was Batgirl. Shit, I'm sorry. Okay, got it. Yeah, the actress in the Flash trailer looks like a badass. I don't know who that is. I don't know if she's going to get lost in the multiverse or what they're going to do. I don't know much about her. It'd be cool if she turned out to be somebody so good that they absorbed her. The more connective tissue, the better. I think for them, if it works out.
I think if somebody dies in the Flash movie, it's going to be her, though, just based on Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's a famous cover where Superman's holding Supergirl.
Oh, shit.
I could see them kind of recreating that, maybe with Flash holding her, something like that. And then, now we have a new Supergirl.
Would it be better if somebody was holding Ezra Miller's dead body?
But there are at least 2 Ezra Millers in this movie.
One in each arm. Just 2 dead Ezra. No.
Well, I think, like, for me, we have Benoist has been doing Supergirl. That show just ended its run maybe last year, and she's a great Supergirl.
She was,
and I think Gunn is enough of a nerd to know that Supergirl represents joy in a way that even Superman doesn't. She is like pure fun in a way that's not the same way Booster Gold is, because Booster Gold can be he's an idiot, right? And so the humor there is almost making fun of him and how terrible the instances can be. Supergirl is pure just delightfulness because she is this bright star in the world going off to help people, and then having to deal with the villain is growing up and realizing the world isn't as perfect as you thought, sort of thing. So I'm excited to see that, but probably not as excited as I am about the next one. This will be the last one we talk about in 2027. We're getting another feature film of Swamp Thing. Now, this will be the 3rd Swamp Thing film. There was also a Swamp Thing television series. This one is rumored, as of right now, according to James Gunn and the director himself, to be directed by James Mangold. So, Chad, what you think about Swamp Thing?
I think there's some really good Swamp Thing comics out there, like really good comics. And I think that they would be crazy not to look at some of those in adapting this movie. And James Gunn is a big fan of the comics, so I got a feeling it's going to be a familiar story. But I'm looking forward to this.
Rob, what about you?
I think the Jameses can rotate movies for the next 10 years for all I care. It could be Gunn and Mangold going back and forth making movies, and I'd be happy as a pig and shit. I mean, they're both 2 of my favorite working directors. I love everything they do. Mangold to me has proven genre don't matter. This fucking guy can do anything. If this is true, I didn't hear Gunn mention Mangold, but I did hear Mangold posted a picture of Swamp Thing or something like that. I know he kind of teased it. That could be I'm interested in it. Hey guys, look to me, or I don't know, but I heard that. I was like, that would be fucking great.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, listen, my 3 favorite DC characters are Batman, Swamp Thing, and Constantine. And so to have those 3 within the mix for this beginning, Alec Holland is such a great character with a great, dark, fucked up world. I'll be honest, I haven't seen Mangold ever go as fucked up as Swamp Thing needs to go in my mind. But Saga of the Swamp Thing is obviously the story that you do. Obviously, but I feel like you don't start there. That's the end of it. You have to give me that human connection before you rip it away from me. And I think that's a delicate balance to sort of try to do. And Lord knows Wes Craven tried it. But I'm excited to see what happens. And especially if you're talking gods and monsters, the official movies begin with Superman and they end with Swamp Thing. That's a nice roster. And who knows? James Gunn will probably get fired tomorrow. So we'll see. but that's all the DC news. Look, it's been a while since we've recorded, so there's a lot of passings, way too many to list, but we'll just say the most recent one, Burt Bacharach, one of the most famous musicians of all time, involved with film scores and music. My generation knows him primarily from the Austin Powers films and all the beautiful songs he did for those. But he will be missed, as long with, Lisa Marie Presley, Rob Knievel, tons and tons. So our thoughts are with all of those people, and most importantly, with all the people suffering from the toll of the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. Our hearts go out to everyone involved and affected by that. It is a devastating turn of events, and they need all the help they can get. That being said, coming up, we have the Super Bowl, which will have a plethora of trailers. The next week we'll have Ant-Man, Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and tons of more films, more Last of Us. I don't know, Rob will probably watch the Mary Tyler Moore Show and talk about that.
The guy who is binging Perry Mason, not the new one, the old one, and Murder, She Wrote, like it's a bottle, and he's been nursing on it for years.
But I don't come on the show and talk about it. That's the difference.
He watches like 18 other things that we do talk about.
Thank you.
Chad, why did you become such an ass kisser? What is going on? What is going on over there? Stop.
I don't know. It's just
let him fight his own battles. They believe we're under a bridge and Keith knows how to fight.
First of all, Keith is a cancer survivor. I will always fight his battles for him. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm old, Chad. What about the elderly? When Swamp Thing comes out, I'll be 61.
To be fair,
obviously, we don't care about the elderly. Look at how we handle it. So we care about cancer survivors, not the elderly.
To be fair, Rob.
Well, for that, I'm going to get cancer. Just so you can care.
Well, to be fair,
go for it.
You're a cancer in your own right, Rob. To be fair,
well, Gordon, I will get cancer.
I feel this episode won't age well. Chad, where can the people find you?
Excuse me. They can find me on Twitter, Chad129X. They can find the podcast on Twitter, NQC Podcast. And also, we're on Instagram now. Same handle, NQC Podcast on Instagram. Because Twitter is probably going away.
Yeah. Rob, what about you? Where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Actors Teaching Actors. You can find me at this podcast once every 6 months. You can find us at all the places Chad just posted. I'm on Facebook at the Facebook. You can find me there. Just look up my name. Yeah. I live in Alpharetta. You can find me in here in Alpharetta.
That's great.
Kroger. I'm at Kroger a lot. Come get me.
Yeah, I don't know if you are. You seem to not know what Kroger was today when I tried to tell you about it.
It's a French restaurant, Kroger.
Kroger. Yeah. And if you need to find me, please don't. You'll never take me alive. Thank you so much for listening to Not Quite Cool. We will talk to you guys next time. See ya.
Peace.
Not Quite Cool is a podcast recorded in Atlanta, Georgia, in conjunction with Actors Teaching Actors and Bean Dip Productions.